Dude,
I would turn the game off and never play again.
Yeah. This is the Imperial Schools of Honor podcast. I'm Josh Folan.
And I'm Jay Baxtron.
And we're going to be bullshitting about the formative years of console gaming as we revisit the periodicals that covered it again. Today we are dousing the shit out of each other in the backyard with some brand new Super Soaker 50s and then jamming on Sega's 1989 release of Capcom's Ghouls N Ghosts for the Sega Genesis.
Woo!
Emulation disclosure. I played on Fusion on my PC with the proprietary 3-button OG gamepad piped in via USB adapter. Jay, how did you play?
I played the exact same way, only I had the 6-button Genesis controller.
Extreme. Getting ahead of the times there. To trying to playing in the future. Playing in 1989 in the future.
That's all I got. I mean, the other 3 buttons are completely pointless, but there we go.
Yeah, the 6-button. I don't think the 6-button dropped. Definitely not until after the Sonic thing happened. Please rate and review the podcast. Be part of the ISOH movement. Give us validation on your podcast platform of choice in the form of a rating and review, and we will read it here on the pod. What are we jamming on now, Jay? What are you jamming on now? What is that? Is that fucking that Skyriders game or?
No, dude, This is not Outriders. This is Gears Tactics. So from the Gears of War franchise on Xbox. I'm amazed that I got sucked back into this game. So Gears of War 5 is a game I love. A lot of fun. Definitely have not played through it all. So much to do. But, the fact that you can play a lot of cloud games now is super cool. So like the other day when it was really, really hot, we couldn't really have 2 Xboxes on. And so I was just kind of looking at like, hey, what games can I just play through the cloud on my phone? And I found this, and it's a turn-based tactical game for Gears of War. And it is a freaking blast, man. I cannot believe I played it when I first saw it, like, I don't know, a year or so ago on Game Pass. And I was just not really in the mood for something that was kind of turn-based like this. But the more I got into it, like, you end up getting so many troops that you can, like, recruit to your deployment team. So I have, like, 14 different troops now. And each of them has their own skill line and, like, different upgraded.
Is this real time? It's a real time thing.
It's turn-based. It's turn-based. Yeah. So it's really fascinating. It's much more complex than I expected from a game like this before, because I've played other turn-based games, and so it's a lot of fun, man. It's a lot of fun. Highly recommend it. So this is like my 4-player squad behind me. If you're looking on the screen, current squad. So yeah. Other than that, shockingly, playing Fall Guys. Have you ever played Fall Guys before? Heard of it?
Yeah. Sounds like it should be a comedy.
Exactly. So it's like it's a multiplayer platform battle royale game. And, it's like an epic game. So the characters are very colorful and kind of like floppy little cartoony characters. But it's a battle royale, but it's like a race. So if you think of like a huge obstacle course, a la what's that one? Not Ultimate Ninja Warrior, but just like a big floppy obstacle course, any kind of obstacle course. And it's like up to 59
Double
players.
Dare.
Yeah, kind of like a huge Double Dare, only pies in the face, maybe, and with like your cute little nondescript characters. And it's up to 59 characters at a time, and it's a blast. Like there's different stages, so like you got to be the first. I don't know, the first stage you may have to be like the first 40 to make it through to advance to the next stage, and the next stage might be like a rotating like disc, and things fly at you, and like it'll eliminate 10 people, then those next 30 get to move on. It's kind of like that. So it ends up being like 5 different stages you have to make.
I cannot put into words how much anxiety the idea of playing with 59 people online at one time gives me.
Why? They might as well be like AI though, because like you're not talking. They're all just like little random characters. You're all just racing and trying to like complete the obstacle course. So it might as well just be you and AI, really. You know what I mean? Like, unless now we've done it where like I would be on my TV and like Courtney played it or Zion played it on the other TV, and that's fun because we know that we're both in the same race, but like we're not helping each other out. We just know that we're both trying to qualify. You know what I mean? other than that, they might as well just not even be human beings unless you're actively like, hey, talking to people like, oh, like talking about your freaking experience as you stressfully try to complete this course together. You know what I mean? But it's a lot of fun. It's a blast. Like I said, Courtney even got sucked in. I was like, wow, I want to keep playing this. So it was something that kind of blew up back in, coincidentally, August 2020, right when the pandemic was going on and everybody was staying at home. And it was released on Windows and on PS4, so it was huge. I knew about it, and now it's on Xbox as well. And so, yeah, it's just another fun, let me go spend, if I have 20 minutes to kill, let me see if I can survive to the end kind of thing.
For some reason, this is reminding me of the Whodunit game that I still want to play that you mentioned a while back. I don't know why that's making me think of that.
Hey.
What the hell was that called? What was
the Whodunit game?
Yeah, with on the spaceship, someone killed someone.
Oh, Among Us, yeah.
Among Us, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what it's making me think of.
I'm telling you, man. Very different concept, but I think it's one of those things that will kind of suck you in, especially if you get kind of competitive. Like, oh, because they're obstacles.
Yeah, I'm not saying. I think it's the.
Fall,
I'm not
like,
saying.
I want to try to do that again. You know?
Right. Yeah, I'm not saying the game format. I'm just saying like the characters, like the kind of goofy aspect of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's
for sure. Goofy multi aspect of it.
Oh, absolutely. That's what people like. I mean, it's free to play, so of course they get you on, like, after you play for a while, like, hey, I want my person to look a little different. Give me a little skins. There's a battle pass, all that kind of thing. So naturally, if you want to spend money, you can spend money. But yeah, otherwise, it's a blast. But those have really been the only two games I've been playing, outside of just some ESO here and there. Still trialing, working through the latest vet trial with a guild that I'm running with now. So
as it goes,
that's going well. Of course. What about you, man? Anything besides the Bills, since they're clearly not a game? Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, Bills. Yeah, first preseason game today, so a lot going on. A lot for new hype joint dropped. Woo! Twitter is ablaze. It's fucking got a lot dealing. Woke up. So I drop it at 9 a.m. on the East Coast. That's obviously 6 a.m. here. So I set when I do these things, I set an alarm at 5:45 a.m. and I wake up and it's like I have to do like this, like, this Twitter dance where like I fucking, I have the Twitter, I have the tweet timed, like the actual release tweet, like the things are already uploaded and they're set to premiere at exactly 6 a.m. West Coast time, 9 o'clock East Coast time. And so the tweet happened, like the actual release happens turnkey. I don't have to do it, but I have to jump on Twitter and essentially, what I perceive to be cleverly kind of get it out into the mafia, So like, yeah, like I've spent the last 2 hours like promoting a video that gains me nothing other than the satisfaction of people. The people do enjoy them. It's they are very well received, and it's awesome how well that they are received. But it does nothing for me financially, and it's like the fact that I spend 2 hours doing it. I drop like 4, 5, 6 of these a year, and like the fact that I spend as much time. I mean, that's not even mentioning the time I spend editing them and like just the amount of time. It's just another example of just absolute psychotic behavior when it comes to the Bills. But yeah, first game today, stoked, even though it's shitty preseason. Nice. So that's going on, and yeah, I haven't fucking really had. Dude, I don't know. I mean, I did find time to. I took my headset to Florida, so I did have time to play kind of the staples, and the new Labyrinth walkabout course dropped on the 28th, and I was definitely like, it dropped at noon Eastern on the 28th, and at like 11:57, I'm like, refresh. Like fucking. So yeah, I was playing it right away, and it's you saw, yeah, I assume you haven't played it, right? Dude, it's oh my god, man, I am so excited. They're dropping a course a month now moving forward, and they have a lot of licensing things cooking. Wow. And like I actually listened to the Rough Talk guys interviewed their senior designer, who was, this dude has spent his entire life designing Disney amusement park rides and shit. Like, this guy is like a large scale, world builder basically. And now he's doing it in VR, and his like, listen to him talk about what they have in the hopper and kind of how they're doing things over there now. It's really fucking exciting because this one is just a whole another level of, like the first. It's weird to me that I get because the second one's supposed to be kind of scary or not scary, but like a little more. Like the hard level that's at night is just like it's at night, so it's just like supposed to be a little. They're usually a little, a little more stoic, I guess, than the easy version of the course. But the easy version of the course, they have characters from the movie in there, so it just adds a whole new level of life to the environment because all of those courses are just other than the mechanics of the actual holes, maybe like the scythe going back and forth at the beginning of the Gothic one, shit like that. There's no life to the worlds. They're just kind of static.
Right.
And this, changes that entirely. And even the environments now, like there's like a little swamp marsh thing where everything, the shit in it's bubbling up. And it just generally has more life, I think, the world, which of course adds to the immersion and the enjoyment of it, yada, yada, yada. But it's also, Labyrinth, again, and I still haven't seen the movie, which... I'm gonna have to watch it. But
yes, dude, what?
Yeah, it's it's wacky as fuck, and they embrace that. And I guess I was listening to something else about it. Like, I guess the course is like a perfect linear progression through the story. I guess, like as far as the character introductions and like the narrative of the 18 holes is not just a random smattering of how do we pack this together. It's like a well thought out telling of the actual film story. So, I think if you have seen it, it's probably even that much more enjoyable. And even that first day I played with a few people. Like I remember playing with one guy and he was like, he was all fucking amped up about it. And he's like, what do you mean you haven't seen this? Whatever.
Exactly. That is the correct response.
Right. So, but it's so dude. And then the characters are all, they're interesting as fuck. And it's just so.
Now I gotta go play it. Like, what are we doing after this? Like, what are we doing?
Let's fucking play, dude. I gotta watch a Bills game, but after that, I can play. It's so damn good, dude. It's so fucking good, and it's they add new mechanics, man. There's this. I don't want to spoil it because the first time I did that hole, I was like, you just you get to it and you're like, what the fuck am I gonna have to do here? What the fuck is going to happen on this? And then you kind of just take the plunge and do it, and you watch the physics of it play out, and you're like, oh my god, this is fucking unreal, dude. It is. It's just so fucking good. And they get the hard course is insane. The hard course is absolutely bad shit insane. But it's so fucking good. So fucking good, and I cannot. There are no words to explain how excited I am for that company moving forward. They're just doing they're making game, they're making experiences. It's like I said about fucking Outer Wilds. It's like that you call that a game is an insult. It is a world that you get to do, an activity that you enjoy in that is on a whole other level than a video game.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's very cool. A little bit of fucking walkabout. And I actually started, whenever I'm working, I get a little bit of get a little bit of Civ in because I can just fire that up on my fucking laptop while I'm working and just like do fucking 1, 2, or 75 turns, whatever, and then back to whatever I was doing. So speaking of turn-based strategy, I got a little of that in, but not a ton of time down in Florida. Florida is, whew, bro. I don't know the last time you were in Florida, man, but that is. It's not a habitable climate. It's not habitable. I don't know how human beings live there. And it's one thing. Like I never left the Airbnb. I was just fucking. I went to set twice.
Wow.
The whole time I was there. Like I just look. I'm fortunate enough. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm fortunate enough to be able to do a job there where I don't have to go out into that shit. But like if you just like driving to the gym and you see people fucking walking or down this fucking street or riding their bikes looking like they're going to work or something, like I would give it. Like that's why people eat people's faces off and shit there. Like if you had to walk to some shitty job that you hated in that climate, you just show up and just murder someone. Like what I mean, like it absolutely makes total sense why crazy shit happens down there. It's not a reasonable place to expect human beings to maintain sanity in, dude. It is ridiculously disgusting weather. It's miserable. Absolutely miserable place to be right now. I just don't know how anyone does it. I feel so bad for everyone living there. Like, it is just... Like, it's like you walk out of the airport, it's like getting punched in the fucking face. Like, literally, I walked out of the airport I got there... Yeah, it was at night. I got there late at night. It was like 9 o'clock at night. I walked out of that door for my Uber, and it was just like... Boom! Like, someone just fucking... I was like, what the... Like, this is not air. You know? Like, my grandma, she's 91, but she's like, I can't even go get the trash can at the end of my driveway. Like, I'd fucking die, basically, coming back. Like, empty garbage can. She's saying, I just can't do it. She's like, I can't do laundry. Like, I just like fucking, I don't nothing. Like, I can't do like nothing.
What was it, like 100 there? Like, what are we talking about?
It's like 90 degrees, and the humidity is like wet wool blanket. That's the percentage of the humidity is a wet wool blanket stuffed into your throat. That's what it is. That's where human beings live there and walk around in it. It's fucking insane. It's insane behavior. I don't know how anyone does it. And you have my dearest fucking, compassion, empathy for anyone that has to and does the first time someone does anything that's like slightly not their optimal thing for that human being to be doing, they don't just rip their head off because I was just miserable the whole time I was there from a weather standpoint, you know?
Well, I'm sure the people who live there have adapted, but yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know how you do that. I don't know. I don't think human biology. I don't see how human biology can maintain any sort of homeostasis in that. I just don't see how it's possible. In any event, I didn't play a lot of games, but I did play Ghouls and Ghosts. Let's talk about that.
That is the level 2 theme, the Village of Decay and Destruction, bringing us into our synopsis. Josh, what is going on here?
Eerie music greets you as you begin the ghostly journey into a land of ghouls and goblins. You're Sir Arthur, a knight with one huge headache. The wicked and evasive Prince of Darkness has once again pillaged your land and plagued your people with paralyzing fear. Plus, he's taken your girl, a real princess with a mean temper, and she's held captive against her will. To avenge your village and get your gal, get ready for an intense battle of wills. Yours and theirs. Dun dun dun!
It seems perfectly appropriate for that.
Yeah. That's exactly what they're going for. They want that to play in your head after you finish reading, no doubt. What kind of game is Ghouls and Ghosts, Jay?
I mean,
other than a motherfucker. What kind of game is Ghouls and Ghosts?
I mean, clearly it's a side-scrolling platformer. I mean, lots of platforminess, scrolling back and forth.
Platforminess and scrolling.
I mean, that's what we're doing. It's 1990, of course.
Yeah, it is 1989, September 89 specifically when it came out, and we've done September 89 like shit that happened that month at least 75 times. So I just skipped historical occurrences. This time around. So let's talk about the artwork, the cover art. This box art is fucking great. I love this box art. It's so good. It's so Genesis and so good. So early Genesis and so good. There is an illustration on the customary black thatch pattern background, and center mass on said illustration is Sir Arthur in golden full plate armor, head to toe, a red cape, a massive golden lance in his right hand, his left gauntlet high in the air above his head with lightning coming down into it. And then lightning bolts are also hitting him from the right and left. And sometimes you get key art that strays from what is actually found in the game. Capcom has probably the most gregarious instance ever with the first Mega Man, you know. So I think it's notable to say this is a perfect representation of the character and the gameplay you're gonna get on the cart, you know. And I thought that was really cool to me. I obviously didn't know when I was first doing this part of it, but as I got into the game, I was like, that is exactly, you know, the golden armor, that's the red cape, like all it's just so perfectly represented here. I thought it was worth mentioning. And he is standing on some rocks next to a stream coming from a waterfall in the distance. Up above him is a mean-ass looking, huge, no idea what the fuck this is thing. It has one eye, so Cyclops is apropos, seemingly. But it has huge fangs, green skin, a clawed hand reaching out, but the head is seemingly coming out of the right arm of a suit of armor, with an empty space in the place where the head should be. And I don't know, there's no idea, man. I was hoping it would come to light in the gameplay, and I guess it kind of would. But yeah, when I was first dissecting this, I was like, I've never seen that in all my Dungeons and Dragons bullshit, Dragon magazine reading, fucking fantasy game, RPG playing motherfucker. Like, I've never seen anything like that. So, and I think, dude, and I guess maybe that's the first step down the road of a thing I'll probably bring up a lot here. There's so much originality in this game, I think, you know, and like, it's also really notable. And I ended up going back and listening to it. The episode that Jab and I did on Ghosts and Goblins on the NES. I just, you know, I wanted to have it kind of seated what we bitched about, what the gameplay ticks, and yada, yada, yada. Just see if there's some tendencies, because this is the first time, and it's been part of my pitch of this many times, doing it as Game Up on it, is like, this is the first game where the pod has like a previous installment to work from, and looking where this is all about the progression of the, you know, the console scene in the US, and like seeing like very closely related data points, the space between them and what happened between them is really interesting first time occurrence for us here. So yeah, there's a lot of really, really cool, interesting shit in this game, and I mean, this character is just one instance of that.
You know what's funny though? When I look at the cover here, I interpret this as, first of all, yes, I completely agree. This looks like straight from the game. But I look at that empty head as maybe, you know, at one point in the game, you're fighting two of the heads. Like, one comes out this side, one comes out the other. So I was like, maybe one just got destroyed.
That's a logical assumption, but
perhaps
that's not what the character is, as we will find out. But yeah, that is a very reasonable. I'm sure maybe I had that that idea too. Like, what? Maybe, yeah, I don't know what's up with that. Like, but did it move? Yeah, what's the deal there? Yeah. But yeah, that is definitely that's the first boss in the game. Basically, I guess there's no point in being like considering that a spoiler here. Yeah, that's like the first boss in the first level. So, say the Sega Genesis logo is up top as well. The title treatment in solid red letters with a white outline down below. On the back of the box, we have 3 screenshots, 1 big, 2 little. All 3 look pretty dope and feature nice size set pieces worth looking at. I thought they were good screenshot choices. And there's a real nice passage of original copy here too, and the end is pretty fun. So I will regurgitate that right now. The only problem, you'll have to learn how to use it. And magic, that is, that's what they're talking about. And avoid it, because their magic has the power to change you into a helpless duck, among other things. But there's not much time. Lives depend on you. So brandish your sword and make Munis meat of your foes. And that is M-U-N-I-C-E meat. What is Munis meat? Okay.
I mean, that sounds like a massive typo to me. I got no Munis.
Now, see, you're right. You're correct. I definitely cruised over to the Google box full of curiosity, certain that I was about to have a lifetime of using the word mincemeat incorrectly thrown in my face. Like one of the, we've had a few of these before where I've talked about, like, I spent my whole life just thinking something that was that way because whatever, and just the slightest bit of Googling tells you that you've been living your life a lie for 30 plus years, you know. But no, it is just a fucking typo. And how do you choose to use a colorful word like mincemeat and blow it? That is a question worth asking, I think. But
it had to be somebody who's never heard of it, and they were just like, all right, just typing like
yeah, again, yeah, what we talking about before, like what writing, like just right click thesaurus and Word and just like pick one. But in that case, though, you would think, well, clearly this is before Word, but in the case of you do it on Word, you at least get the right spelling when you do it, so you can't fuck that up. But yeah, that is kind of the same thing, I think. Yeah, like, what's that? Oh, I just heard that guy say that, the one that Munis meat. Yeah. That's a cool word. Let's go with it. You know, and yeah, there's no one over there.
Samsonite.
Yeah. Right, yeah. And there's just no one at Capcom with enough fucking English fluency to be like, I'm not sure. We should check that. Let's check it. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, we got to get to the bar. So the manual, which is in the show notes, as they always are, is 26 pages, color covers, black and white innards. That's how the Sega manuals are in this era. And they open with a 2-banger of story and illustration that I dig. Sir Arthur in all his glory on one page, and the other is a really detailed and cool-looking long aerial shot of the world the story takes place in, which is really good. giving you idea what the fuck you're getting into, because and I think that's key too, because even though we have an in-game map here, and this was the thing with the first one too, that's a perfect example of something that like, oh, that was a problem in the first one, and it happened to me again here, and I didn't listen to the episode until I was well into the play too, so I had already had a few things like kind of slap me in the face when I was playing, where I was like, that's fucking weird and off, that's that's not ideal, and then I listened to the fucking pod, and like we bitched about this already in the like this is what they want. This is their game. This is the kind of game they want to do. They're repeating known problems that there's no way they didn't know about. Like, or yeah, I don't know. Just I guess it's possible, but there's so much time and so many multiple ports and development things happening between then and now, playtesting, what have you, that there just had to be some knowledge that this was something that maybe at least some people didn't like, and they were like, I don't give a fuck. That's Ghouls. That's the story world. That's the game world. That's the game we're making. That's what it is. Roll with it or fuck off. And there's only so much about that you can bitch about. If it's known, it's one thing if you don't do a good job of playtesting and you just make a bad game. But if you make a hard game with things that not everyone likes, but you go, fuck you, I like it, or I want it to be that way, and we're keeping it, like that's a creative choice, and like that I respect. So
yeah.
Pages 10 and 11 are a screenshot of that map screen that we just mentioned, and some really fun stage breakdown copy that I'll throw out as we go through the playthrough. There's 5 stages. The first 3 have 2 parts to them, so 8 separate areas by the developer's measure, and this is a perfect example of another thing. Like, I get into these games, and this was a problem with the first one, I don't even know when I'm changing levels. I'm not even sure when I'm in another level or not. It doesn't necessarily differentiate it with some major event, boss, whatever. You can get all the way through what the manual says is a separate stage or level and be like, oh fuck, that was the, like, I gotta go back and fix my notes now. Which is, I understand, probably good for a player not doing a podcast, but annoying for a podcaster doing a game.
Exactly.
Then the next 2 pages are a solid weapon breakdown. There are 6 different weapons, and then each has its own unique magical capability, too. And I thought it worth mentioning or going through each one of these because they are such a big part of the gameplay. So you start with a sword, and this can be thrown. It has a torpedo magic that fires up, right, and left simultaneously. And then there is the big axe, and this can penetrate things when thrown. Has exploding magic that blows shit up when you use the magic version of it. And that is like I never liked it because of its slow deployment, but this game does a lot to make that valuable to you in obstructions that with obstructions that most of your projectiles cannot pass through. So having that capability does mean something in this game for sure if you can deal with the slower clip rate of the attack.
But wait, you're talking about the exploding magic? The magic?
Oh, to be honest, yeah, I never used the big axe enough to use that magic, so I don't even know I didn't even see that in action. I'm just speaking of the base attack of it.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I actually used we'll talk about it, but
we'll talk. Yeah, I found things that I liked. I played like 70% of the game with 2 different weapons, and I was like, no chance in fuck was I picking up any other weapon because of enough trial and error that I hated the other ones.
So fascinating. Such a different strategy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Dude, it's another great thing about this game. There is a lot in here, despite the seemingly linear nature of it, that allots you some creative license, some agency over how you want to play this game, and how you want to attack it. And in turn, replayability in allowing you to attack it in different ways, even yourself. You know what I mean? So like I think for what what can be a very boring genre in the action platformer, or at least a very straightforward genre without a lot of variance to it, I think this game does a good job of giving you options on how to play this game, because these weapons, like I said, once I found the things that worked for me, I was like, I don't want any of the other shit. I don't give a fuck what you got. Like, I know this works. I know how it works. I can dependably rely on it to work that way, and I need to finish this game because I got to get to work. So, yeah. The next one is the super sword, and it can't be thrown. So this is just a melee attack. It does twice the damage, so that's appealing. And also, I mean, I never saw it. That sounds like an amazing magic attack. The Thunder Dragon magic that kills everything in the sky.
What?
Like, to kill flying enemies are always one of the bigger pains in the asses in these games.
I never saw that.
Yeah, me either. I mean, I don't know how you ride with that and not be able to have a ranged attack. It's just, that's fucking...
Like, you're just trying to make the game hard at that point.
Right. Well, again, it's a perfect example of like how far you can go. Like, I'm sure that magic attack is dope as fuck. They know that is a very limiting thing with the base weapon. So I'm sure the magic attack is really dope. And the double damage, I mean, twice, that's a major multiplier, especially on the harder levels. But
that's what you need on any kind of like game that correctly like gives a bonus to a melee person. Like if you are limited in melee, you should have a bonus damage versus...
Yeah, you say that like these old school Nintendo games are fair, or Genesis, whatever. These old school games are...
No, I completely get it. I'm saying the fact that is thoughtful enough to be here is impressive. Yes. It's like, wow. Like, agreed. I would not have expected such a thing. Reading it here is kind of like, wow, that's amazing. I still don't want it, but that's...
That's cool that I have that option if I want to go that route. Yeah, no doubt. Then there's the fire water, and this spreads fire from an impact point, so it's kind of a little similar to like a holy water in Castlevania or something. Wherever it lands and breaks, it does like a little fire thing that spreads out in both directions.
Dude, I love this weapon. This thing is great.
This is like, nope, don't want that. It's too limiting, man. Like, you can't.
I would throw it over and over so that like I'm just spreading fire everywhere. Right. Nothing's getting at me. You know what I mean? Like it's weird because it seems like something that's like, why am I using this? And it felt awkward at first, but once I realized I could just kind of just spread fire freaking everywhere, I kind of got used to it. Like, okay, all right, this is good.
I bet that, did you try I never tried the magic attack for that either, the fireball magic?
I did. Dude, it's
dope as fuck. Yeah, I'm sure it's dope.
I use that often. I would just, in between enemies, like when there was no enemies, I'm charging it up. So as soon as enemies on the screen, release. Release. Like,
that's how I was. Yeah, we'll get to the one that I really liked. But yeah, I mean, that the magic, we'll talk about that too, I guess. But yeah, the magic employment is also like, I really like the mechanic, the deployment mechanic for the magic attack, because it's perfectly, they found a perfect way to do it, that like there's an economy to it, that you can't spam it if shit's hairy, but if you're able to be strategic and calculated, you can use it as needed. It's not like I'm always so apprehensive about using my economy, using up my fucking resources. I'm too conservative in that regard. So this was very freeing in that there was no truly finite economy to it. It was just a matter of strategically, it has a cooldown. So, you have to just use it in a methodical way. But you didn't run out of it, so you don't have to fear running out of it. You just have to be smart with how you do use it and how frequently you use it. So I really like that too.
I just wish I knew this all existed, honestly. I will tell you, and we'll get into more of it later, but I read the manual up until page 8. Page 6. I just looked and I was like, what are the controls? I was like, all right.
That's definitely the first stop. So that's smart. If you're gonna like only consume some of it, that's definitely a key and integral thing to check on for sure. Because I mean, there are a handful of things, we'll get to them, but I would forget about them and not use them, and like I honestly, even though I clearly read the manual in detail, I don't do a good job maybe necessarily of always internalizing everything, particularly in the controls, because that's so far from where I'm at when I'm looking at the manual. I'm so like, this is the part before I start playing the game, so that's not the thing I need to worry about yet. I need to build it into my process to always go back to the manual when we get to that control and HUD section after we fire the game up, because there are things I always, for the fucking Moonwalker had a couple things I totally forgot to fucking use and employ because I'm a fucking idiot, so that's something I need to get better. New Year's resolution. So the next one is the Discus. And oh man, I fucking love this. You throw it from a kneeling position and it will skim the ground. Like the contour of the ground. So when you get into those hilly parts, or like, what is that, stage 4, where you're in you're going down into the cavern, and there's those declines, and things are popping up out of the declines. So if you just fire straight ahead, you're going to fire over their head. But if you have this, it will skim the ground and hit them right at the where they meet the ground. And that is just, or over there's the little inclines too, or the actual hills, so it'll go over top of the hill and then go back down the other side. Like, oh my god, it was fucking just so useful. It does have, I think, the shittiest magic power though, the magical shield that appears in front of you. Like, I tried to like find a way to make it useful, and like I never really had any use for it. So that was kind of a bummer. But again, that's probably fair because
it's a pretty
usefulness of the base attack was just so
spam that
good.
everywhere.
Yeah,
when I got that, it was back off.
Yeah. And it's awesome that you don't have that they worked in a very not fuck you control way to be able to choose whether you're doing that skim thing or just throwing it straight ahead. Like, it's very easy to do the duck and do it, and it doesn't ruin the play experience at all to have to do that extra little step for that attack, so it was very well done in that regard too. And then lastly, well, not lastly actually, but as far as what's here in the breakdown, the last one they have here is the dagger, and this can be thrown the farthest and the fastest. So it's very similar to the first weapon, the lance, but it goes farther, and you can really hammer them out, which is nice. And then the double magic is incredible. It creates a invincible double of your sprite to fight with you for a limited time. And the sprite is like on delay. So, you jump, throw an attack. There's like a second before that instance of you does that same thing, so like you can basically, if you get really good at it, you can anticipate when, because most times, like the bosses in particular, the most dangerous time to attack the whatever their weak point is when they're doing a projectile or they're attacking, but that's also their weakest time usually. So if you can use that thing properly, you can just throw it into the fire basically and let it fucking get hit while it's doing the attack that you did a second ago. And that is, if you can really get good at that, it is such a powerful tool. So yeah, that was an incredible, that was the one. The Discus, there were like kind of strategic moments where I knew that was a helpful mechanic, but any other time I'm trying to have the dagger, because that is just, the magical power is incredible, and the base attack is just like it's powerful enough anyways, and you just have so much spamming capability that it's fucking great. I loved it.
Dude, I can't even believe we had such different experiences. I never used this. I didn't.
Oh my god, Jay, you fucking guts.
I didn't know this existed until afterwards. Until after I was done playing, and I was just looking up a video, and I was like, "That looks interesting. I wonder what that would be like." And we'll get to why I never experienced this later. But it's that sounds like a fun way to play.
It was a dope tool for sure. It explains here that these weapons are awarded, in quotations, as you advance, but that you can choose not to take a new weapon if you so choose by jumping over it. And yes, this is like giving the player agency over their experience, and I support and applaud that design choice infinitely. And this is again just one of many things I'll always hit on as we go through here. This was present in the first game too, and this was part of the gameplay, like giving you a bunch of different weapons. You don't have to take them; you can choose, but the possibility exists of you accidentally getting it. And it's a total fuck you moment that you're like, god damn it.
Can I tell you, there was definitely a save spot that it took me over and over because I kept accidentally having to like land on the weapon, the sword that I'm trying to avoid. And I was like, I don't want this friggin' sword.
Yeah, and it's such a, it's just such a funny, like Friday the 13th had that too. And it's like, it's something that, it's, you're pissed. Like the reason you're so pissed is because it's not something. It's a power-up. Like, it's not like getting smacked in the face by something. It's like, it's like, being handed your favorite food, but you eat it and something's off about it. You know what I mean? It's like it should be a positive and it kind of still is, but fuck.
It's like being handed your second favorite food. You have your favorite food already in your hand, and somebody trying to hand you something.
Someone just stuffing
good, but it's not. You're like, no, I'm good. I got this one though.
I'm all set. Yeah.
I can't eat both. You
know? Yeah, that's good. Yeah, they don't taste good together. Yeah. Yeah.
I got the steak. I don't need the cake. I'm good.
Yeah, maybe later. So the two after that are further info. The 2 pages after that are info on further pickups or other pickups and shit. There are chests and jars that are explained as being carried by demons, and you can get cool shit out of them. The only things they actually list are 4 sets of armor. There's the red armor, which is found in jars, and these are just points, 200. Then there's big red armor, same, but 500 points. Then there's the silver armor, and this is the replacement of your armor after you lose it when you get hit by something. And then there's the magic armor, and this unlocks your current weapon's magical capabilities. So just, yeah, I mean, the best thing to see in the game, basically, if you don't have it.
It would have been nice to know what this was. Honestly, the whole time coming up to playing this game, like just learning about this game, I only saw the silver armor and just assumed like that's the armor that you have. So even in the game, when I got the gold armor, I was like, oh, this just must be like extra in terms of like, maybe I'll get hit twice before. But no, I would still get hit once and lose everything. So I was kind of, for the whole game, I was like, what is the point of this gold armor?
Oh, man, Jay, are you going to tell me that you didn't use... Well, you said you used magical powers. So
eventually, but we'll see.
Okay.
But it would have been helpful for me to read the whole manual. That is the takeaway here.
It's always helpful, Jay. There's no downside to it. There's no
like,
downside.
All right, I know what to do. Let's jump in here. I'm a pro.
Yeah.
Let's go.
They also mention here that some chests contain a magician, which sounds like a dope thing. Magicians are cool, right? Erroneous! Erroneous on both counts. These magicians do zero cool shit for you. One of 2 things can happen when they appear. At least, unless you kill them, which I wouldn't learn until later you can. But thankfully, that's a possibility. But if you don't kill them and you get hit by their projectile, one of 2 things can happen. They can turn you into a duck for a limited time, during which you're completely helpless. And then they can also turn you into an old man for a limited time, which you then have very limited abilities. You're slower, you can't jump, I think your attack's slower, everything's shitty. And the sprite for it is fucking... The sprite for both are amazing. The duck looks cool too. But the sprite for the old man is fucking awesome. It's like this dude with the cane, he's all crippled over, and he's shirtless and shit. It's really good. Then we get a slickly illustrated 4-banger of enemy breakdowns after that. And who was your fave, Jay?
My fave.
Yeah, of the enemy illustrations. I mean, I guess it can also be influenced by in-game play in retrospect, but...
In that case, oddly enough, I like the Pigman.
Yeah, they're cool.
Like, you could anticipate them, but they did weird stuff, like... I didn't like they would run at you. You had to like take them out because they would mess your world up.
Yeah.
But then they could also like spit down at you. So it's kind of like, what is like? Yeah, they did a lot.
Pig vomit. I was really disappointed with all the blurb copywriting, so I'm just gonna go with my favorite illustration, and that is the Red Destroyer's King. It's also a cool moniker, I think. But it has gargoyle vibes. It kind of looks like something that could have been in the Thundercats story world to me. That's what I thought of for some reason when I was looking at it. So
definitely is intense.
Yeah. A helpful hints page is next, and I like how it's just 3 tiny vague bullet points and then 80% of blank page, highlighting to me, in my perception, that they're not going to do much that's helpful for you.
Figure it out, homie.
Right. Helpful hints. Bad podcasting. This is my middle finger up to the camera right now. Then we have 2 pages of standardized Sega manual scorekeeping grids, and that's all she wrote. Jay, notable history.
Man, it's funny. This has won numerous awards. Like, that's not so much funny, but just it's one of those things that I knew growing up that it was a popular game, but I didn't know it had won stuff. So best game of the year according to EGM, best graphics, best sequel, coolest boss, computer entertainment awards. From them, they gave it Genesis game of the year, video games and computer entertainment gave it the best coin op conversion, So I mean,
Oh,
it's
shit.
just got like great reviews across the board. Yeah,
I can see it. I can see it. But
yeah,
yeah, it's funny. Yeah, it's funny that happened. And I mean, again, I always go back to the fact that this happened before Genesis happened to me, and that's why I think this whole era 89 is just 89 and 90 are just I'm just not there yet. So that's why something like this could be as good as it is and not make it onto my radar, and just me not have access to it, and me there in turn not have the nostalgia for it, and just no real knowledge of it. So I'll use that excuse. But yeah, I mean, I can totally see, especially knowing what's available in this era. Like, yeah, I mean, this is I don't know. I'm not sure I can think of anything good from that first wave of. Especially of this kind. Like, they have some good, like the sports titles are really good for Genesis, even some of those early ones for, when they were happening. But as far as like this kind of game, like an action platformer like this, like I can't think of anything on the Genesis that's even fucking close, to be honest with you. In 89, like in the early days of it.
But I also think that like maybe we were too young to have appreciated the coin op conversion. I don't remember playing this as an arcade game, right. So like I wouldn't have been like, oh wow, check it out, now it's available on Sega. You know what I mean? So it was just a little too came out a little before me.
Before our time. I agree. Well, no economic analysis because I had life to deal with, but let's talk about the game. That is the castle music. That is from level 5. And we are now going to talk about the game. First is the title screen. And it couldn't be much simpler, I don't think. As you can see behind me, that's kind of what's going on there. And we start with the Sega logo. And then it cuts to a black screen where the words push start button, flash center mass, and the title treatment drops down from above and into place, Ghouls and Ghosts. That is specifically what's behind me. And once it drops into place, a cool bat image appears behind, and the letters all adopt a bloody drop shadow, and flames appear inside them, which is a lit-ass font.
Very cool. Very different.
Yep. Different. And there's some legalese at the bottom, part of which reads reprogrammed game, and I feel like that's something you don't see every day. That specific verbiage, reprogrammed game. You hit start and choose 1 or 2 player, despite the box art having the 1 player only mark of the beast emblazoned onto it. Or there's also an options menu that has a huge music and sound effect test feature. Manual says there are 56 sound effects you can fiddle with. And like the actual music cue for the options menu prior to when you start fucking around with the sound of music is also pretty fun. The 2 difficulty settings in here are practice and professional. And if you don't click it over professional, you must wear the scarlet letter of the word practice being in the lower right of the screen your entire playthrough, heckling you in all your inferiority throughout. And I didn't even know that, and Matt Ghoul pointed it out to me in the just whatever fucking some comment on one of the Faceship posts. And he's like something about practice, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize. I didn't know what that meant. I thought that was going to go away after the first level, and then didn't go away. So I ended up just restarting. I'd restarted, so that went away. So I played it on professional. Which difficulty?
What
did you play it with?
Dude, I just played it on practice. I didn't even this screen. I gave no thought to this screen, honestly. Like I don't know if there was a specific consideration. It was kind of just like. I just kind of went with what was there. Like normally I always make sure that it's on normal. I just looked at this and kind of just went with it. It wasn't until later, I don't know, maybe I was on stage 4 or something, that I really saw the word practice, and I was kind of just like, why does it say practice there? You know what I mean?
It doesn't feel like practice.
Definitely does not feel like practice. Like what is this? So I was kind of confused for a second, and then I looked it up, and that's when I sent you that note, kind of like, where somebody was like, yeah, like if you play it on professional, then you're asking for like the pain of the world and kind of all this stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm good. I was confused as to why I kept seeing this word because it made me nervous. Like, am I not playing the game right now? Like, am I just playing through like a not real mode?
I feared that I couldn't beat the game. That's why I restarted. I feared that especially knowing how this game is after the first experience of the original, like I expected that it would just shut off for me at some point halfway through the game or right before the end or whatever. And, I didn't want to do that to myself. So that's why I switched it over to professional. Out of fear.
I was freaking out because when it happened to me, like I said, I was on stage 4 or whatever, and I was kind of looking up, but I wasn't sure, so I kept going. But that's when it sent me back to the beginning, and at that point I was like freaking out, like, did I waste my time? Did I just do,
We'll get into that. We'll get into that further, but it does. That has nothing to do with it. Surprisingly. Yeah. And then we get a kind of way too fucking quick pan across the game map that precedes the stage 1 start, and you're off. So you get dropped down into there. That actually right around where you're at there with the screenshot behind you. And let's talk about the controls and HUD first. A jumps and selects options. B attacks and or fires. C jumps and selects options. So, no, I'm not stuck in a broken loop. The A and C buttons are redundant. So there's a certain level of like, when you see that, it's like Sonic, same thing. All three, that's obviously the extreme version where all 3 buttons do the same thing. But like there's there's like a comforting simplicity to that, or and something about it pleases me that like even though they have these options, they're like, nah, I'm wrong. I don't need that.
It's funny. To you, it's comforting. To me, it's so annoying because I'm always like, do I want to use B? Do I want to use, or you know what I mean? Do I want to use C? Do I want to use A? I don't know which one I like the most. Which one? Until I get into a mojo, until I get into a groove. It's frustrating to me.
That's interesting. Paralyzed by indecision.
Too much.
You can kneel with down on the D-pad, and you can control fire direction while running or jumping, as well as fire downward while falling by hitting both B and C together. The HUD is pretty simple. It's typical arcade shit. We have the score, current, and high scores always displayed up top. We have a time countdown in the top right. You get 2 minutes and 30 seconds for the first stage, and then 3 minutes even for every stage thereafter. And that's actually not... Well, maybe it is true. I don't know. I'm pretty sure later on, though, it resets mid-level. Like the last stage, there's some weird... It resets after each one of those mini-bosses, I think. So that's not always true, but roundabouts, that's how it works. And you can, of course, croak if that runs out. I don't think that ever happened to me once, though. Even
never experienced that.
Limited of time as that might seem in a vacuum. A box center mass at the bottom shows your current weapon, and when you have magic available, a red meter is in the bottom left, and then lives remaining are bottom right. So we are starting in stage 1, the execution place. That's a dope-ass name. Especially for like just stage 1, not fucking around. And the manual description of this stage is entrance to the demon's world. Spirits of death and vultures are everywhere. And there is awesome imagery right from the jump here. Like I said, it's right behind Jay right now. They have large crucifixes and gallows in the background, all adorned with picked clean skeletons. And this is amidst rolling hills that disappear into the dark night. So there's kind of like this really good job of portraying depth, to the background, as opposed to a lot of times you just get kind of that one plane of like the shit you can't get to. This has like and again, like it's not overly complex. It kind of makes me think a little bit of Batman and Batman's use of shadows to, we have limitations, but we tactfully do a good job.
Or even Super Mario World, same thing. Like it kind of reminds me of the same ways that they kind of use some of the 3D. Yeah, very similar to me.
Yep. And yeah, there are storm clouds visible up above. There's a great looking lightning sprites that will crack down out of them periodically. And the classic theme I recall all too well from the first game on the NES cranks up. And it was like a non-flashback, dude. When it first started up, I was like, I tensed up.
That's funny. Oh, man.
Yeah, and then, looking this up, I would see they name the music tracks for the OST, and that's always a good sign. And the Hill of Torture is the track name here. Did your screen? Yeah. So okay, we can skip that. We talked about that already. The practice shit at the bottom. Yeah, I didn't like when I first turned it on. I don't think I checked that options menu either, or if I did, I glossed over that. I think because I always do. I'm kind of the same way I'm anal retentive about the instruction manuals. I'm usually anal retentive about those options menus as well. I want to go in there and see what they got. But I think I blew right past the difficulty setting because it's always normal, like just normal. I don't need to fuck with that. I don't want to make my life harder.
Right
yeah, I'm not gonna make my life harder. I'm assuming it's not gonna start on something stupid, and just blew right past it. So, I played. I think I might have finished. I think I finished the entire first stage, or first two by there. I don't know, but, through the first boss when I noticed that, and then maybe had that conversation with Matt on the Facebook page, and was like, I'm just gonna start over. To get rid of that. But when I first saw it, I was like, what the fuck is up with that? What does that mean?
If I had noticed it as early as you did, I might have had the same reaction. But because I was so far in,
right, you're like,
it's kind of just like,
it's got to keep going and hope for the best.
Exactly.
So we have skeleton murderers. These are the grunt enemies in this level, and they start immediately. They start clawing up out of the ground and bum rush you when you start the stage. And I love the animation on these. They have to hoist themselves up out of the ground using their scythes for leverage, which is really fucking cool. They are easily dispatched, and the death animation looks cool, but I can't for the life of me make heads or tails of exactly what I'm supposed to be seeing. It's just like a magical explosion of some kind. Like there's a lot of blue in there though, and it kind of looks like it's a limited remnant. What's that?
I said everything explodes. There's so many explosions.
Right. Well, yeah, but I mean, like the blue. It kind of looks like when the Roadrunner runs. Like the thing left behind him, like the cloud of the poof. Like the poof emoji.
Yeah, it is like.
It's like a little bit of like a like a missile launch. I don't know.
It's almost like a half Ryu blue fire.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely not your typical just ship something blowing up and there's like a little bit of It's
like a combination of fire and that at the same time.
Right. Yeah, it's got like and I think this is I don't mean this as a derogatory thing. Like it kind of has like that. It has like a magical ethereal look to it that is, I think, appropriate. So it's just different. And I can't tell exactly what I'm looking at, but it is good. The ground is not flat. It matches the Rolling Hills vibe, and that absolutely affects gameplay and adds depth to it. Like the inclines and stuff change because your projectiles fly straight, with the exception of that one. So it is when the ground changes level, it fucks with your ability to interact with it for sure.
Yes.
Also, I think it fills with your jumping mechanics a little bit too. I'm pretty sure. So yeah, that's a big part of the level design is employing that stuff. There's lots of headstones strewn about, and it's a cool sprite for these, but this is, in this level, this is the instant. Every level has these. In this one, this is the sprite that can stop your projectiles and then, in turn, protects enemies that haven't passed it yet. Like, the enemies can run right through it. You have to jump over it, Yep. So, they add a lot of difficulty, too. And this is, immediately I saw this, and I was like, okay, that axe weapon comment in that manual makes sense to me. So, because you immediately notice like, oh, this is a problem. I think it even gives you that like tried and true video game meep, like that little, that like it's funny how like I don't think of that as being a universal thing, but it is so universal,
Oh yeah, the ting like sorry, you're just running up against nothing.
Yeah, nothing's and that's Capcom too. It makes me think that Mega Man has that too, So it's like that must be an in-house like thing, So I got my first weapon pickup quite early, the Super Sword, and I lost my ranged attack, and I was like, nope, never picking that up again. I'm fucking done with that.
That's funny. I just picked up whatever I found at this point and just went with it, because I'm just kind of like, I don't know what's next, what's going to be, I don't know what's going to be better. I'm just going to pick up things and roll. So I was just grabbing whatever.
Yeah, it's that's the, there is no... I thought there might be some kind of like that was a thing in Castlevania. I remember like there are some specifically planted weapon pickups in. I mean, granted, those are in candles, so those are like finite fixed locations for these things. So that makes a little more sense. Obviously, these come from enemies, so they can kind of be anywhere, and in turn, it's random. But it's interesting that there is no. I don't know for sure. I didn't get every weapon in the first level. But I'm thinking maybe it's possible to, if you farm long enough, you might be able to get any weapon, I think. I don't know if there's any level limitations. I didn't notice anything like that. And yeah, so I'm not sure. There's no way to know that for sure, really. Unless you'd want to just sit and play the first level forever and find out until you check them
see
all
if you
off
get
the list.
different RNG or not.
Right. So we get buzzards introduced to us, as the manual description mentioned, and these are flying enemies, and I love their death animation. It's like cloud of feathers, it's just like, and like leather feathers fly back and forth. That's really cool. And around their appearance, the castle ruins start with the pile of skeletons beneath it, and I started to see the skeleton murderers popping out from behind BG objects, like the castle walls, trees, and shit, and they poke their head out, and they look back and forth, and then they can... none of it is a set track. If you're not close enough, they'll just go back to hiding and you never see them again. At least, again, I didn't just hang there and wait and see if they ever came back, but they kind of seem like they just go away. But they'll also sometimes jump out too. So again, just like, it's not this just ramrodded fucking linear experience. Like there is like shit reacting to, and that the gameplay can be different accordingly, and that's really good. Yeah, it really adds to like those add like a kind of a horror, scary vibe thing that this game wants to have. Like that kind of adds to that too, that fact that they pop out and whatever. And they can also appear from heights above and have a unique animation for deciding to and actually leaping down when they do that, when they come out from above too. So again, just so much variance and so much artwork effort here. It's really well done.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it even with the deaths. Like each enemy has different deaths. Like certain things blow up in fire, other things have, like you said, the magical half death. It's fascinating. So it's
even Batman is and granted
impressive.
That's NES, so for the limitations, but even Batman, as great as that game was aesthetically, everything died the same way and had the same thing. Even the bosses were just like a little bit bigger version of it. So that's obviously an extra attention to detail that is worth commending. And on both of my first occasions of making a weapon pickup here, the sprite for it was inside of a tombstone. So immediately, I got like a fucking ghost, fucking fucked up kind of thing going on, So yeah, like appear like inside the tombstone. Like I said, you cannot walk through them. What am I going to
do here?
Right? Yeah, you can't walk through them. You can only jump over them. So like the first one, the super sword pickup, it required some running head first into the right side of the stone and attacking, but I was able to get it. So that's how I was able to pick that one up. But the second was a firewater, and it did not go so swimmingly. I couldn't get to it. It was unobtainable in there. So again, it's just kind of like you don't know. Like maybe, who knows? Like you can. It feels like bullshit, of course. And there was that happening to me. There was zero doubt in my mind that design flaw was going to rear its ugly head at some crucial point later on in the gameplay, and I hated knowing that in the beginning that was going to fuck me at some point,
Oh, that definitely happened to me, and I didn't get it, and I was like, well, that sucks.
What are you gonna do? And honestly, it never. I say that from early in my note taking process, it never came to fruition, and I don't think I ever even saw it again after this first level. So. It didn't happen. It was a fear I had, and it can happen, but it was not like a rampant thing. And honestly, after playing the whole game, like we just spoke about, you can farm weapon pickups, I think, if you want to, and see them enough that missing any one does not ruin your life. I mean, obviously, it can be appealing if you want a certain weapon for where you're at, and you see that and don't get it. That would be painful, but it's not like... You're never just, I'm fucked because that happened.
I don't know if it's RNG, though. Because, I would save scum, and the same weapons would drop in the same spots. Like, it may be, just programmed to drop. Well,
and it may, the thing, too, it may seed. There's a certain point where, that code drops into the pipeline. You know what I mean?
That's true, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
Because you're save stating, you're not loading and reseeding the random generator. You're loading a state. Like a snapshot of code procession. So, that's true. If you go back far enough, it probably maybe wouldn't be the case. But who knows? The first chest appearance I encountered absolutely spat out a magician, and he absolutely turned me into an elderly gentleman. Yeah, and I would later find you can run and avoid his transformation projectile, and that was nice to find out, it's like a large circle of symbols that luckily has... completely straight flight pattern to it. It does not, doesn't follow you or anything. So you can even kind of prompt it to, like, if you jump, it'll shoot up in the air a little bit, and that'll allow you to stay beneath, so you can affect where it goes even kind of predictably to some degree. So it's not, once you kind of know all their shit, they're not really as big of a thing. But I would still say, especially once I had a weapon that I was fine with, I just fuck those chests. I
was going to ask you what your strategy was there. When I had gold armor and a weapon, I was just avoiding chests. I'm like, why would I need this chest?
And so for, it's that the gold coin theory, like, or the Mega Man extra life thing. Like, you don't really need it, but man, you're so programmed to want it that like I on occasion would like deviate even though I didn't need to from my that policy. And 75, maybe even higher percent of the time, you're like, fuck! Like, I knew it wasn't good. Why did I do it, But yeah, it is just so ingrained in you as a video game player to get that loot. Give me that fucking loot crate.
Like, for me, I would automatically, my MO the whole game, well, the whole first half of the game, was just hit the chest and immediately fight. Like, because I was thinking, it's either going to be this evil, stupid wizard, or I'm going to get cool stuff and pick it up anyway. So that's part of why I wasn't really discriminating between.
Downside,
I was just like, chest fight. Like, I'm either going to kill something or get something cool.
And that's, I didn't understand it there at first, but eventually I would learn, you can kill this fucker, and that is no question the smart money.
Oh yeah, don't let him do anything. It's like fight. It's only when there's other enemies on the screen that he'll get the drop on me, and I'll turn into a freaking old man or a duck.
The drop on me. Yeah, right. Yeah. He's not there. There's a beat after he appears before it happens. So it's not. It is not really a tough mountain to climb or anything, but it is a perfect example of this game's fuck the player mentality, that like this thing that it's a chest. It's like Phantasy Star had that, and Jab and I it was just such a brutal RPG experience. Ultima had this too, where the chests are just supposed to be a party, man. Like, don't give me any fucking bullshit on the chests. Like, there's enough of that here. I don't need. That's an extra step we just don't need in the fucking knife turning, man. And this is it's tough that is so prevalent in this game. But nature of the beast, I think. So while you're elderly, I'd say it lasts maybe 15, 20 seconds. Your mobility is severely hampered, but you can still attack. And then the duck thing, you're completely impotent from an offensive perspective. And one small concession I was surprised by, you do not lose whatever armor you were wearing when these transformations occur. So when the period of effect lapses, you transform back with the same suit you had on prior, and weapon too. So that's a nice thing. And you just can fucking survive if you get back to where you were. It's not a total knock you off or knock you back thing. And you will die in this game, and I certainly did, even here in level 1, plenty. And just as in the original, the first hit knocks your armor off you, and it leaves you near naked, your sprite. And unless you replenish that armor via pickup, the next hit will kill you. And when you die, your sprite crumples into a pile of bones. And that's a really nice touch. And like, it even flies like, if you get knocked back, your sprite starts the knockback thing just as if you were not dying, and mid-flight turns into the pile of bones. So when it would be landing, it's now a pile of bones. It's just a really nice death animation and a nice touch. I like it. It's right there, I think, with maybe my favorite ever, which was Wizards and Warriors, with the little. I don't think you were on that one, but when you died in Wizards and Warriors the original, your sprite goes onto his back and your leg like dangles. This like this dead little fucking swinging thing that's really you can't help but laugh at. The latter stage guillotine obstacles look so good. I loved those. They look really fucking cool. There's skulls in the supports. The blade animation is really cool. And then the huge ones, so there's a bunch of little ones that lead up to it, and then at the end there's a really big one that has a pile of human skulls at its drop point, and you have to walk across those to pass through it, so it's like all these things have already had their head lopped off. It's really, really cool and fun. And after that, you have to cross a wooden bridge over a river, and that baby, the bridge will drop out from under you if you dawdle too long on it. But it's not, as long as you keep moving, it's not at all a threat. But if you try to hang out on it. You'll definitely fall into the river.
Right on.
And as soon as you cross it, you're hit with a wind mechanic that is really well supported by the tree animations. Really well done, I think. And it's the wind slows your forward progress, both on the ground and in the air. And I would later learn, I didn't realize it at first, and this is what I was talking about earlier, that this is the stage changeover. Like, that guillotine is where the first stage ends. But there's no marker that it's occurring in the gameplay. Like, if you don't know that, there's no way to ascertain that. So, I don't know.
Are you sure?
Sure? Oh yeah, I'm 1,000% positive. 1,000% positive. Yeah. So yeah. Here's if it wasn't in the first game, if the same thing wasn't a thing in the first game, where I would be in the new thing of the map after, the only way I found out playing the first game that I had gotten to stage 2 or whatever stage I first realized that I was progressing through stages is I died and actually watched the map animation and saw that I was in another stage.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Yeah, exactly. That's the only time I know.
Yeah. Other than unless you do a boss battle, of course, then it's makes sense. But yeah, there's no boss here. The guillotine, that big guillotine, is the boss. So, or the bridge or whatever. So yeah, it's pretty tough to gauge. But yeah, if I didn't know it was an existing thing already, I would think that the manual writers came in after the fact and just made arbitrary choices,
Right.
But anyhow, other than that wind mechanic starting, there is no indication. And then this area is called the floating island on the lake. And the manual description is, when you try to cross the lake, you'll be assaulted by winds and rain. Beyond the hill on the opposite shore is the first gateway. And, of course, because of the wind mechanic, they sprinkle in a bunch of flying enemies in this area, and these are the sickle weasels in the manual. It's another cool name. And they are invulnerable as they tornado through the air. And you can only frag them when they stop twisting as they get close to you, and honestly, it's not worth the effort. The best thing is just learn to avoid them entirely and just get through this fucking area. Yeah, no benefit to that at all. And you indeed have to scale a mountain populated by pigmen, your boys, and poisonous flowers after that. And they then you drop down the other side of it to arrive at your first gateway boss battle. And yes, I think it's the thing in the box art. It's Cyclops-ish. Its head isn't sticking out of the neck hole on the armor he's wearing, etc., etc. And this is actually named in the manual the Statue of Terror. And I would eventually realize that later, put it all together. And the description for this is a statue which guards the passageway of the castle. So it's a statue, basically. It shoots fireballs you have to jump to avoid and will just kamikaze into you. So I just kind of instinctively ran left and shot it from afar. And I would learn on my second time through the level, after I restarted to get practice mode off my screen, that he will back up to the castle if you work your way all the way to the cliff face on the left, which gives you breathing room. And that made it a lot easier once I realized that you could just stay from afar and kind of pepper him just as he comes onto the screen. And I don't know, maybe 10 shots-ish, I would say, if I had to spitball on. This was on the harder mode, which I'm sure requires more than practice. So,
yeah, it wasn't hard. It was not hard.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just having fun at this point. Like, oh, wow, that's cool.
So it blows up. And a blue and red key drops down in front of the big metal door in a stone wall it was guarding. And the eloquently translated words, "Take a key for coming in!" appear above you. And the first time I beat this, I had lost my armor in the battle. And I was just, to no end, amused by the idea of this dude standing nearly buck naked outside the village door. And they just drop a key and tell him, "Come on in!" Like fucking creep, come on in. So this is a clear change of stage, and this moves us into stage 2, the Village of Decay. The manual description for this is, beyond the windmill is an abyss, which you can never return from if you fall. Another dun-da-dun, dun-da-dun. And the start of this stage is fucking bananas, man. I died a ton here. This is when I first texted you, like, I don't think I can beat this. I don't think I can get through here.
This was so annoying. I was like, man, these things are moving at different paces for me. It was so annoying.
Yeah.
Like, it seemed to almost seemed for a while to be correcting to try to get me. Like, what is happening?
Yep. I mean, they are entirely, well, here's the thing.
It just seemed that way.
Right. Well, if you, they can be different. If you dawdle and go back and forth, it can be different. If you stay the course and keep that seed, it does have a base seed that allows you to predict them and accommodate them accordingly if you just keep moving forward. But if you backtrack and shit and move around, and if you dawdle too long, they can come back from screen, like the things will come back from screen left, and then you have to kill them, and that makes you dawdle, and that makes the seed thing change, and that just compounds the difficulty. So yeah, you're better off just nose to the grindstone and keep it moving and try to figure out that sequence. Very Mike Tyson-ish.
Dude, I had to go back so many times.
Oh, yeah, dude.
The minute I made it to the sand, I was like, save.
Oh, yeah. I save scum my fucking ass off. This whole game, but this fucking stage in particular, yeah. Yeah. So you're in a little farming hamlet of sorts. There's windmills and silos here and there, and these things bouncing are called rock turtles, and they are fucking hardcore as fuck through this first part of the stage. They bounce a couple different heights, as well as trundle onto the screen at ground level, sometimes one standing on the back of another. So what this does is, it takes a few hits to kill them, and when they come in piggybacked like that, you essentially have to stay in one spot longer and shoot them for a longer time, and that means you have to spend more time dealing with them and not with the fucking things flying at you, bouncing, in random spots on the screen. So, yeah, really fucking tough, really tough sequence. And then you move into quicksand on inclines inside a huge building with shitty stone bridges suspended above them that fall apart in random spots. And I don't know, maybe this is some kind of farming process and the sand is supposed to be grain. I'm not sure. But the sand grain, whatever, empties into these straight up insta-death pits, even though it doesn't indicate that in the graphical representation, I don't think. It doesn't look like it's a pit. Like the sand is going down at them, but it looks like there's a, it looks like it would at least take that quicksand mechanic in video games where you're going to have you can jump quickly to get out of it. But no, if you go right into the middle of it, you are dead. And then on top of that, there's some fire shitheads that climb up out of them and up the quicksand inclines towards you. And they're, of course, faster in the quicksand than you are. So, sucks. And there's also some flying shit in here, these demon dayflies, to mix it up. So, which is a dope-ass name, but they are, as all flying enemies are, a huge pain in the ass. So, yeah, so there's, like, these drawbridge things have, and again, thankfully, you can memorize that they all are fixed places, but you obviously don't know that going through, and it is total trial and error. So you fall through these things, down into the quicksand, and the thing either fucking eats you, or, well, usually the thing fucking
chases you.
Or, yeah, usually the fucking thing eats you. And, yeah, you can try to quickly hop back up the incline, but it's just, it is just one of those, like, it'd be nice if, you can at least get some holy water and check the floor, a la Castlevania, or just something that allows for your first experience through here to be nothing but trial and error, Yeah,
and that's just like, nope, you're going to die. Yeah, you just gotta know the spots.
Right. And yeah, and like, again, we're, it goes without saying, we're playing from modern perspective with these save states we're talking about, like on OG hardware, it's just, these are just such a fuck you. They're just such a fuck you because there's just no way to tell that where the breakpoints are in the bridges. So yeah, you're just going to die. It's just inevitable. So get used to it. After you sprint between the on-fire blades of a windmill, right after that, you arrive at two mountains of skulls with a little humanoid peckerhead sitting on top of one of them, chucking skulls down at you. And it's an awesome visual, these skull piles. And it's an awesome visual of this little peckerhead. But I'm pretty sure, or I was immediately pretty sure, that the peckerhead was a red devil. And these are the pricks that are like notoriously difficult from the first game. And he absolutely killed me the first time I encountered him. And yeah, they have that exact same swooping flight pattern as they had in the NES game, and they are just brutal. Brutal.
So annoying.
Yep. Ugh. There's only the two of them here, so I didn't learn it here. Thankfully, you don't get a ton of appearances of these in the game, thankfully. But the one that comes later, where there's more of them, I hadn't learned in this experience how to really deal with them yet. There is a system to it. It can be learned. You can get good at it. It's still not perfect, but you can improve at these. But yeah, I did not learn them here. So for me, it was just like save scumming in random shit until they die. That's how I got through this. Yeah. and you can't, like, the thing about them in the first game, you could glitch them off the screen, and that was actually the best way to do it.
Really?
Yeah, you could glitch these
gosh.
fuckers off the screen, and that was that's how you would kill them, or that's how I learned to kill them in the first one. You can't do that here; it doesn't fucking work. So if you don't kill the prick before moving to the next area, which is an earthquake sinking platform sequence, he will 100% fuck up your life during that real bad. So you absolutely have to stick around in the arena at the skull pile and kill this fucker. So that's that. And then we move into the back half of stage 2. This is called the Town of Fire. The description for these is the ground trembles and splits, and the town is enveloped in raging flames. And this has a really cool background feature too. The buildings burning and shit in the BG look really good. And this is the first time, or this is where I first got the discus weapon out of one of the fire bats. And it was just such a big improvement from the lance. And that's good, because I was definitely thinking to myself at times prior to here that the power up frequency was really starting to prove to be shit. Like, it wasn't happening for me enough, So maybe that kind of flies a little bit in the face of our theory about everything being available, But until I got this power up, I was kind of thinking, like, fuck, all I have is this lance and that shitty ass melee weapon, So yeah, I was not getting them as much as I would have liked, which could have just been totally random. Who knows?
Meanwhile, I hadn't really differentiated between the weapons at this point. I was still kind of grabbing whatever, like, okay. No real thoughts about one versus the other, just kind of grabbing what's available.
Okay.
So fascinating thought process.
It's such a different, the Discus is such a different sprite that it's really hard to do that with the Discus, I think, because it's like this teal, it looks like a bottle cap.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd gotten it yet, because I know specifically on this part, the first time, I had the sword. Like, I know coming in, I was definitely hitting the knights coming down with you, like, with a sword. Because I was just like, all right, I guess I got to hit these guys.
Those flying fire bats with no projectiles? Oh, God, dude.
Yeah, the first time. Yeah, this first time, because they were dropping, like, even the green bats dropping the rocks on you. I was kind of like, all right, I guess I got to avoid them right now. Good times.
Oh, God, yeah, you can't fire straight up either. Oh, geez, that's brutal. That's so bad, yeah.
I was not having fun with this part.
Yeah, I mean, I was with the, obviously having a projectile, I was able to. I would frag the fire bats before they actually spawn, because there's these fire columns that they spawn out of,
Yeah.
So you could I was able to, because they spawn out of where the column hits the ground, So having that discus and be able to shoot it on the ground, I was able to just spam those columns until the fire bat appeared before it could even fuck with me, which was a really nice come up, really nice realization.
Yeah.
And yeah, I rode that bad boy's death-dealing fury all the way to the boss battle here, and this boss is named Infernomo, and it's like a huge quadrupedal beast, like dog-like maybe, that's covered in flames. And the description for this is scatters flames everywhere while ramming foes with its body. And I loved the ambiance of his battle arena, like completely engulfed in flame ceiling and the burning buildings that I already said I liked in the background. It was just a really cool looking boss battle. And the sprite's great too. So I would say, you're telling me you didn't have it yet. I would say I was really lucky to have the Discus, dude, because like that kneeling fire mechanic lends itself to kneeling a lot, just instinctively. And I'd bet it was a very deliberate programming decision to make that pickup at least semi likely in the run-up to this, because he will run at you, and I don't think he'll actually run into you, but he'll run at you. At least he never did to me anyways. Will he? Okay, so he didn't do that to me. He would run at me, and then he does this jump over you to the other side of the screen, releasing fireballs floating behind him as he flies that float straight down to the ground. And there's always just enough of a gap between them in the distribution to find a safe spot that you can crouch in and lay down some fire in his direction. So when he hits, you're getting some hits on him, And the crouching, like he flies over you, the crouching is just below that. So you're kind of, if you're smart about it with that weapon, you're kind of always in a pretty safe spot, which is a nice thing for a boss battle. Of course,
Fascinating. I definitely did not have that experience. I had something like the daggers, to where I was trying, when he would go to the other side of the screen and the fire would be coming down, I would be throwing daggers trying to clear out the fire and him. So that's what would
Okay.
end up happening. I was definitely not doing any kind of
Oh,
crouching
yeah.
and floor mechanic. No.
Yeah, so that's amazing because it's I in my perception, I would have guessed you couldn't possibly beat this thing without tactfully crouching between those fire
Oh yeah, I
things
definitely
coming
did
down.
not do that.
You said you could get them to they would disappear. I never once even shot one of them.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I learned like it was a dagger. Maybe it was something else. I can't remember. But I definitely remember at one point because I died, of course, from them the first time, and then shooting, trying to hit fire at the boss, and then seeing the fire kind of disappear. I was like, oh, well, I can kind of take them out as well. I would just. That's when I started just spamming and just taking it all out. So I was like, this works.
nice. That's so cool because those are just. You can't really get.
I tried avoidance and that I just died.
Yeah, you can't really get more diametrically opposed approaches to that boss.
Yeah.
So that's crazy that both of them worked. So yeah, it took me maybe 3 or 4 tries, but yeah, I was pretty quickly sorted that because again, just instinctively being the mechanic to use for that particular weapon. So it's pretty cool. So you beat him, and the same key appears, same goofy message above it. Take a key for coming in before you head into an archway with flames burning bright behind it. Yeah, even that was cool in there. Like you could see the fire in the distance through the door. So yeah, you're still not out of the fire.
Yeah.
This takes you into stage 3, Baron Rankle's Tower. The description for this is, the ceilings attack and monstrous beings emit poisonous substances. Yuck. That's not me saying that. That's in the description. Yuck. And actually, I would guess Yuck. In fact, I'm almost sure Yuck has a C in it. Their version does not. It's YUK.
Interesting.
And yes, this is a completely different fucking type of stage. It is a auto scroll, and you have to ascend said Baron's Tower vertically, like the platform continuously rises up. And that is never a fun mechanic to drizzle into a play experience. And there are environmental protrusions kind of everywhere that you can get crushed against by this auto-scrolling floor. And the enemy selection is intended to play off that auto-scroll mechanic as well. So yeah, we have those flying goblins that eat up safe space for you to jump around in. And they drop the rocks down onto you. And they'll also kamikaze down at you. So a lot of them, at least, like those being present sucks, but at least they will often have urns that do have the weapon pickup drops. So many so that I think you really have to work to avoid the shittier weapons even. Like this is probably the level where that was the biggest thing. It's like avoiding that fucking sword and avoiding anything you didn't want, So yeah, you need something that fires quick in here, I would say, and this is my first experience with the dagger. And yeah, anything else I would guess is you're pretty well fucked. Like the firewall in particular to me was a death sentence. Did you you said you liked that? Did you didn't use that in here, did you?
Absolutely, I did.
Really?
Yeah,
man.
I definitely, when I got it, I grabbed it. I think the first time through I didn't grab it. The second time through I definitely grabbed it. But yeah, because
what is this? I don't even know if I even tried it. What is it? What happens when you shoot that vertically up?
I don't know if I remember shooting it vertically up.
So I feel like it was limited. Like it had like that lob thing to it that would only go so far.
Yeah, I know I would just be spamming it like diagonally left and right and forward left and right, and so it would just spread everywhere. So I was, it would work. It wasn't ideal. Like it definitely seems awkward at first because I had, like the other weapons. And then I would get that and I would be like, oh shit, I can't. This feels like I have less control.
Yeah.
And obviously you do. But at the same time, once I just started spamming it everywhere, it was able to kind of kill everything in front of me. So I was like, okay, this is usable. Maybe not the best thing here, but once I would later figure out that the gold armor uses that magic power, then I was like, yeah, give me that. I'll just keep trying.
I bet that would be dope here, yeah.
Yeah. But I definitely did not experience that at this stage in the game, no.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say... I'm sure I had the golden armor, but it wasn't frequent enough that I was really employing that very often, like because you got to think about it, and you don't, it's not enough of it's cool and it's helpful, but until you're like, other than, that the dagger one, like none of it's that game breaking or powerful that you're
right.
Like, you're relying on it, it's just like a nice kicker of help. So it's easy to not, easy to not think about it, especially if you haven't gotten into the groove of using it yet. But So there are really cool night sprites in here. I think maybe one of my favorite in the game as far as in-game art goes. They're attached to the wall by some purple slime, ectoplasm, I'm going to call it, from Ghostbusters, that are waving swords out in front of them to also eat up safe space. And if you don't frag them before, when the floor hits them, they will detach from the wall and start crawling towards you on the floor, which is just really cool. The first time that happens, you're like, fuck!
You're like, oh, I'm just going to avoid them. And
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, no, that ain't going to work. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Especially if you have the sword, because then you're just like, ah!
right, yeah. Yep. And they also have a number of magician chests in here, and this is about when I just stopped interacting with these entirely, willingly.
Yeah, avoid.
Plenty of weapon pickups come out of the urns, so you don't need to rely on them for that, and it's just like, yeah, fuck it. They put a real fuck you to video game players not long after you reach the top of the tower, and the auto-scroll begins to work its way horizontally. I posted a picture of this. There's a sequence where they clutter up the right side of the screen with a bunch of these easily dispatched, but not at all incentivizing to get close to, fish sprites. So you naturally hang back from afar and just pick them off on the left-hand side of the screen. The problem with that is, out of fucking nowhere, before those even stop appearing, they put in this really tight bottleneck that you have to be right on top of to make it through before the still ascending floor. Like, it's moving horizontally now, the scroll, but the floor is still rising. So anything that is, vertical, you're not always going to have access to it. And yeah, there's like this real small bottleneck where you got to get through it before the floor rises past the small opening, or you get smushed against the ceiling on the left side of it. And this is another instance, like, there's just no way to know that. There's no way to guess that. There's no, they don't, like, a game that introduce, because, this is intended to be, this is a, like a, I don't know, like a skill. It's kind of like the, in Mega Man, the fucking appearing platforms. You gotta like time that out. It's like a skill timing thing, right? Is what they're doing. And this is a skill timing mechanic. But if you're going to introduce that, you need to do one of two things. You need to either make it not so detrimental to fail at it that you can try it again, which is what the Mega Man platforms do. If you fall down, in most cases, in the first time you introduce them anyways, this is kind of the other thing. You either have to do that, or you have to introduce them in kind of like an incremental way or a safe way that allow you to learn the mechanic. That way, you're not looking for it, Yeah, Mechanic does that, or Mega Man does that, both those things with those appearing platforms. So you get them early with no real penalty other than maybe an enemy moving around down below, so you can try them until you get it right and understand it and figure out the pattern. Later on in the game, you don't have that luxury. They impose them where you can die if you don't get it right. But you already have learned it, so when you see it coming,
you're
and
like,
you can plan for it, right? And they don't do that for this, and this is just out of fucking nowhere. And like the first time you're playing this game, you're dying.
You die.
Yeah, there's no way around it. You're fucking dying, and that, I hate it. I fucking hate it. And what are those pointy calcium deposits hanging above the opening called, Jay?
I don't know. Are they stalagmites? I don't know.
No, they're not. They're definitely tights. So this is it's funny too, like that, it's just like the big guillotine. Like there is a marker in hindsight that you're changing stages, but
yeah.
I didn't, I was now looking for this kind of thing because I had already figured this out, but yeah, this is a stage change into the back half of stage 3. That's Horrible Faced Mountain. And the description of this is a mountain with a horrible face, his mouth agape. You must journey across his tongue. Ick! So they're adding onomatopoeias to every single manual description now here in this stage 3. And those tongues, plural, make for an insane platforming sequence that is something, man. It is something.
Dude. This was a tough one.
Yeah, this was a bitch, man. This was a real bitch. So they put chests here that are here for nothing more than to knock you off the tongues. It's like the tongues like fly out and then fly back in. So like you only have a limited amount of time with which to use a tongue. And it's also scrolling. Is it not? Am I misremembering that?
The screen is scrolling.
Okay, right.
And if you stay on the tongue too long, you'll get freaking eaten.
Right. Yeah, it'll pull you back into the mouth. Oh. And then also, yes, things will appear that like you can get scraped off the tongue, because, you know, the tongue will be out, and if you don't have anything, there's no object there like a chest to knock you off. It's not like instant. Like the tongue goes back in, and you can like see that and react and make a move. But if you obviously get scraped off by something that you thought you would, like in a lot of cases, you jump over the fucking chest, and you're like, okay, that's behind me now, and the tongue starts moving, and you're just ripped against the fucking chest and fucking just fall down and die. Yeah, it's really fucking tough, really tough. And I didn't assume that these statues would eat me. And I actually didn't get pulled in. I learned this not by a tongue pulling me in, but by me just walking too close to the mouth and just getting eaten. Like, really? I was like, what the fuck? I did not. Yeah, it was totally unexpected to me that would be possible. Oh, man. So I had gotten irritated prior to this my play, but this is where the really vile shit started coming from my mouth directed at this game and all it stands for. Like, this is when I really started saying mean shit to my laptop, because this was a really fucking hard part. The part with the two tongues. So they're coming out down at 45-degree angles, and you have to duck under an island and then jump over some flying prick as soon as you come out on the other side of that island that you ducked under, even though you have to be crouched for the island duck part. And this game's shitty jump controls, which we have not mentioned yet, do not allow you to jump forward without first generating some inertia, some forward momentum first. You can't just jump and move forward from a standing spot. You have to already be running, and that sucks. It is very limiting. And this part is where it just shines, it rears its ugly head the most, because you don't have time to generate some inertia in that instance. God, just fuck this part, man. Fuck the person who programmed that. Fuck them. But I know you're out there, bro. Fuck you, bro. You, I have to be a bastard to put this in a game with this kind of fucking jumping mechanic. It was so fucking hard, and I died so many fucking times,
So many times. Dude, I didn't explicitly think of it in the same terms, but that's exactly what I felt. Because I would, at this point, be trying to jump, and I would fall straight down, and I'd be like, why? Like, why can't I do the thing that, 97% of action platformers allow me to do? Yeah. Yeah, so I ended up timing myself where I really did just walk off the edge of the tongue to fall down and land on the moving platform underneath, you know?
Yeah.
It was just,
I didn't even mention that part of it. Yeah, if you survive that and jump that fucking thing, the bird or whatever that's on the other side of the island, you then have to, before the tongue retracts, or as the tongue retracts, I think.
Yeah, as it's retracting.
And as the one below it is starting to protrude, you cannot jump. You have to fall off this moving thing. So, that's fucked up, because the thing is moving, and your guy, it changes the way you walk because it's moving. So, timing a fall is 20,000 times harder. You know, it's it was just such a hard, 3 seconds of fucking gameplay.
So many deaths.
So many deaths. And my God, I'm save scumming. My God, doing this without that luxury.
I was sitting here at this
million
point in
pieces.
The game.
NES or Genesis and a million fucking pieces.
Yeah. How did you play this back in the day? If you're out there, tell us how you experienced this with no access to save states.
Oh, dude, every one of the disciples, man, that fucking has some nostalgia play. They're all just by stage 3 or 4, when I started posting images from stage 3 or 4, they're like, I never saw that. I never got there. Fucking no, not happening.
Makes sense.
Yeah, makes tons of sense. So yeah, I save scum so hard through it, and was eventually able to conquer the beast to arrive at the boss battle against the Mistral Winds, which is a cool name. And the description for this is, watching for unsuspecting travelers, these winds create hail and lightning to prevent passage through the third gate. And he's a bloodshot red iris eye inside of a cluster of small dark clouds that circles around you in the mountain platform outside the gate. And there's a really cool touch to the introduction to this, to the boss arena, I guess. There's a benign looking cloud cluster below the platform as you walk up to it or onto it, that swoops under you and then kind of morphs into the boss screen right. And I thought that was really cool. Really good job. Artwork, animation, yada, yada, yada. Really cool. And yeah, popping his ass when he lines up with your projectile path on either the right or left side is your primary attack goal, and then running is, I guess you can also shoot up a little bit, but you have so little clearance there. I guess when he's going down below, it's maybe a little easier to shoot down. So that's not impossible to attack him, but I basically just waited for him to get level with me right or left and just fired him. And then running as far away from it as possible when he turns into a cycle state. That when he's like that, he's invincible, so you can't even attack him anyway, so you might as well just fucking run. And if you ran far enough away from him, his shit wouldn't be able to get you, and he would start his circling motion again. So he was, I wouldn't call it cheesing, but he was pretty easy to read, react, and predict, and I did not have a ton of difficulty with this one.
Easiest boss. I had no problem with this boss at all. I was like, wow, okay. I took no notes. I was just like, all right, he's dead.
Yeah.
Moving on.
So yeah, it's easily my shortest boss battle note, too.
Okay.
After these messages...
We'll be right back.
Genesis brings you the 16-bit arcade challenge with Ghostbusters. 16-bit thrills in Ghouls and Ghosts. And 16-bit arcade action with Forgotten Worlds. Gruesome ghosts, ferocious foes, battles of power, of magic and might. Ghouls and Ghosts, Ghostbusters, and Forgotten Worlds are for the Genesis system. Sega Genesis brings the arcade experience home.
That is a 1989 U.S. market commercial for a hodgepodge of early Genesis titles, and I recommend you navigate to the show notes to peep game on it because the live action sequences for all three games are great. Like there's way more effort and money put into them than the commercial warrants. Like there's a serious production design and wardrobe effort in there for just seconds of these live action things in between the game capture screenshot stuff, So, and why are those Ghostbuster kids, which is only 3, no Winston comp, which I know aligns with the game, but what the fuck, man? Always that way. But why are those kids? Why are they kids? But the Ghouls and Ghosts dude and the Forgotten Worlds dudes adults. Why are those not kids?
Yeah, I don't understand.
Doesn't make any fucking sense. I think the answer is pre-Tom Kalinske Sega. I think that's why. It's just a fucking shit show, and their marketing is just a nightmare. So I think that's the answer, but it's not a good one.
Who do we have available? You're an intern. You're going to be Arthur.
Right. Bring your 2 kids. Hey, Todd, bring her 2 kids. Fucking. Get what's that dude? John Sars. Remember, he's in the fucking all the things.
They spent the money on all the money on the outfits and set stuff. Right. So like all they had left was just like we just got volunteers. Like
right. Yeah. That's a good answer. But then that raises the question: you didn't get the costumes before you made those choices. And Ghostbusters costumes are not just, I guess, who knows? They probably are just some coveralls with a patch sewn on, if it's even sewn on, even if it's sewn on. So, in any event, we were playing Ghouls and Ghosts actually, not Ghosts and Goblins, kind of the same thing, but whatever. We are now in stage 4, the Crystal Forest, and the manual description for that is: inside the huge cave that goes straight to the demon's castle is a gigantic crystal forest. Don't touch the crystals. And yes, it's a cave with a ceiling of green crystals of varying heights. I was guessing they kill you, but I was not, I was smart enough to not test it, but I believe they do kill you.
And you mean you didn't accidentally find out? I definitely accidentally found out multiple times.
Well, I read the manual, so I knew that they were dangerous. There's also a really huge picked clean skeleton of some kind, of some mythical beast that acts as set pieces that you can use to take the high ground through the stage. Really fucking cool looking, really cool sprite work. And it gave me, this is funny how Subnautica is so entrenched. It gave me Subnautica vibes of the Lost River in Subnautica is all I can think of. Which doesn't mean anything to you yet, Jay, because you're an idiot, but you should play the game and it would mean something important to you. The onslaught of skeleton murderers from the first stage is back, and it made me all warm and fuzzy inside. I like these dudes. And I still had the Discus coming into this level, and being able to have your attacks track with the contour of the wildly hilly terra firma in this level, which those murderers constantly spawn from, is a huge plus. So I was careful to avoid all their pickup opportunities presented to me here, for sure.
Interesting. I rocked the axes quite a bit here.
Really? Yeah. That's good. That's slow. That's slow. That didn't bother you? The slow?
Man, I didn't enjoy the axes, but they come in. Well, like I said, I was still at this point, like, I was really getting into the hang of things at this point, but I was still also picking up almost whatever dropped, and when the axes came, which they frequently did here, I just kind of went with them, because they definitely destroy things, and we'll get into it later, but there's definitely a boss where, like, they just go the right angle, like the right angle to hit the boss, and so
that's
I just kind of
interesting to
rolled
hear.
with them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Different strokes.
Yep. Well, the stretch with all the worms coming out of the ground toward the tail end of this part it's coupled with a very constricted play area, and woo, buddy, that is something. That's actually, I might have died, come to think of it, I might have actually died in there from the fucking ceilings at some point. It's so constricted, that part of it, you know, that I probably did bounce off the ceiling once or twice there at least. But I'm safe scumming and loading so hard here that, you know, it's hard to remember everything, all the ways you die.
That is true. I just saw all the spikes and stuff around once you get to the next little slidey part, and I was like, "Yep, save." Just gonna start it right now. I don't even know what's coming next.
You then head into I guess it's a water ice decline descent sequence, and yet again, oh my god, was I happy to have the Discus for this. This is easily, I mean, like I said, it's nice to have him be able to contour the hills and other parts, but this, I think it's fucking, I don't even know, man. I don't know how you do this without that luxury. Because, yeah, you're on these declines, and these fucking, the big hand enemies that were down below you on the slopes, you know, like, I would basically just drop to the top of those, and it's like a twofold thing, too. And, like, I really can't think of a physics-based reasoning for it, but when you crouch on those platforms, which you slide on normally, when you crouch, you stop moving. So it was like a bonus plan. Like, not only am I doing an attack that is the most effective way to kill these things down below me, but I'm also stopping while I do it. You know what I mean? Right. Which normally isn't the case. So yeah, if you're firing straight forward, like, those gotta be fucking awful.
It actually was not bad here. It was not bad here. Yeah, because I would also crouch as well, just for aiming purposes. And
I guess just right before, if you use that just right before you got to him, maybe.
Yeah.
And there's not, there's a little bit of like clutter shit going. You got those caterpillars that come up out of the ground too behind you sometimes. So you got a little bit of shit fucking with you more, but it is kind of just about those hands, I suppose.
Yeah, it's not too bad, honestly. I feel like the sprites are big enough, like, that you're able to take things out, especially if you have the axe, like I did consistently here. It wasn't really a problem.
Okay. Kind of a cool thing with those too, that if you do chance into running into those hands, they grab you and they insta kill you by crushing you. Like, your armor means nothing. They crush you into bones, whether you have armor or not, which is pretty cool. Sucks, of course, but it's cool animation, cool mechanic. I was then conveniently handed the dagger just as it transitioned to a new platforming sequence, these organic green platforms that will plummet downward after you step onto them. And at the bottom of the plunge are suspended Venus flytrap-looking plants with jagged toothed jaws, and the platform you're riding is their tongue, which is, again, really cool fucking design, really cool animation, really unique, just interesting, you know, finding a way to make what could be so monotonous constantly new and interesting. And it's really good job in that regard, I think. They also line the walls of this ascent with these demonic-looking caterpillar heads that will fire shit at you, and having that rapid-fire dagger for these was very helpful for dispatching them. So, again, yeah, that you're moving so fast, and there's so much. Having a slow-firing weapon, I think, would be really tough there, man.
I don't know. It doesn't feel slow-firing. Like, here, like, because you're incentivized to not die.
Because you never had the dagger, right?
Well, I mean, I definitely picked up the dagger before. Like, I definitely had it, but I thought you said
never had it. So
I definitely picked it up.
The beauty of ignorance.
I mean, I used it. It was great to me. I never thought of it. I kind of mentally thought of it as like a lower tier weapon, because just being a smaller sprite, smaller range of impact. So,
well, not range. They fly the furthest.
No, I mean in terms of like being a wider, like the axe is actually wider, so you have more of a hitbox. But I mean, here you're moving so fast because you don't want to die by Venus flytrap that you're just trying to shoot some projectiles, hit the caterpillars, and just keep moving. So I I went through this like the first or second time. Like I died once, getting eaten. Like, oh, don't do that again, and then just kept moving the second time. You know.
I definitely did some dying in here. I would, as a kid, though. This is a little bit of a tangent. I don't know if there was anything I was more fascinated by as a child than Venus flytraps. Like anything, even like I wanted one so fucking bad.
Did you have one?
Not as a kid.
Dude.
The first one I ever had, I was living in New York. I found a website that would mail them to you, and I bought one off the internet and had it show up in my apartment when I was living with Pauline. Fucking, I had it show up, and yeah, dude, I like, you know, fucking like literally catching flies. Instead of I no longer kill flies, I now catch them and feed them to my fucking plant like a psychopath.
Heck yeah, are you kidding me? I loved having, like, I remember, of course, as a kid, yeah, you want one. Like I want one of these things. And like as a kid, absolutely, I was so fascinated for as long as I was.
I'm going to order one as soon as we get off this fucking
oh my gosh
podcast, Jay. I might order one while we're talking.
My kids had one, like, until it died. I think it was last year. Like, absolutely.
It's tough. They're so predisposed or so suited that it's like rainforest climate that they need to be in. That like the lack of humidity, especially here, is probably not going to be good for them.
No, it was definitely hard to keep them alive, unfortunately.
Yeah. But very, very cool. It is the thing, though. Like, they're awesome. It's fucking awesome. It's a fucking carnivorous plant. It's awesome. It's cool as fuck. Science of it is so cool. Whatever. But it is kind of... It's not as cool as it is in your mind. You know? When you first get it, you're like... Oh, and you watch it eat it, and you're kind of like... It's kind of... Closes kind of slower than I want. You're like... Yeah, right, yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not as ravenous as maybe you might have hoped, but it's still cool. So that stretch of Venus flytrap shit leads you down to a subterranean lake area with a massive pupa of some kind floating in the water. That is our boss battle here. And have I told you to watch Solar Opposites yet?
No, I don't think so.
It's like the same people that did Rick and Morty, same animation style, same style of comedy. Hilarious on Hulu, really good. And they have they call their baby the pupa, and so they say just the word pupa is for the rest of my life made me think of Solar Opposites. It's hilarious. Oh, the fuck! What'd you do with the pupa? And the pupa's like, it's a baby, but it's kind of like the same deal as Baby Herman or Huey or whatever it is from Family Guy, where he's like adult sentience, but stuck in a baby body, you know? And that obviously lends itself to humorous instances. So, great show, actually. Yeah, I was watched that whole season down in fucking Florida. It was really good. Highly recommend if you have not watched that show. Anyhow, that massive pupa is floating in some water here, and that's our boss battle. And it's not in the manual. They stop at stage 3 as far as the boss battle shit goes in the breakdowns, the enemy breakdowns. So I had to dig up the wiki for some pronouns. And this second half of the stage, all the subterranean shit, is aptly called Devil's Rotten Sea Cave in Ghouls N Ghosts lore, which is a cool name and very appropriate. And the pupa is called Ohm, O-H-M-E. And Ohm is a mobile, but it disperses minions to try to take Sir Arthur out. And they use maggots and worms. And it has 5 festering masses that are protruding from its body. On the side of its body, and you have to run around on its back and shoot these things while dealing with the maggots crawling up the side and then kamikazing at you along the contour of its back, and then the worms coming out and they fly around in the jumping space you need to jump and shoot the masses below you. I figured out, you can walk to the very edges of its ass end and head to shoot the 2 outside masses on each end without any real risk to you, which is kind of a nice cheese thing. The maggots still come out and you got to deal with those, but like the worms aren't really an issue when you do that. So you can take out 4 of the 5, sensors without any real threat, I learned. So that was nice. That fucker in the middle, though, requires really rolling up your sleeves and getting dirty. Because you have to go still. The only way to get to it is to stand directly above it and jump and shoot downward. And when you're there, the maggots are coming hard, the worms are coming hard, and it's less than easy. Especially, it takes a number of hits on professional. So
how do I even start this discussion? I'm fascinated by the way that you approach this. This was the most fun stage boss. I had a blast. All I did,
it was fun, but that middle one was hard.
I left this with full gold armor. All I did, my whole strategy was literally jumping and shooting down every single time on all of those circles. All I did, all I did was just jump, shoot down, like constantly go back.
And just took one?
I took all of them out, like just.
Well, but I'm saying it only took one. You're making it sound like it was just one shot, like you could one shot them.
With the axes, no, it would take a couple axe throws, yeah. To only maybe 3 or so, but you would take out the worms at the same time, so it was kind of.
Oh yeah, see,
I would just jump, shoot down, take them all down, jump, shoot, take them all out, So it was like a game at that point. Like, can I take everything out and have no wasted shots each time?
Just the efficiency game. Yeah, well, that sounds like a good case to be made for the axe that I would not have thought to make. Or could be made, I should say. Awesome. This is where I first really discovered the power of the magical attack of the dagger, though. The way I ended up making it happen was realizing to deploy that. And now I'm firing twice, and then it was just gone, So yeah, but I died a million times before I thought to do that, and it was pretty cool. So when you take down that last one, a pier appears next to the burned out husk of Ohm that leads to the gate door it was guarding, and the key drops down onto there, and it's moving on into stage 5, Castle of Evil Demons. The description is, I love this, the Prince of Darkness awaits. Good luck. you just gotta love that. There's no actual stage description. Just get ready for the fucking fire, video game dickhead. You're going into the belly of the beast. Don't worry about descriptions. That's great. I love it. So you go into this place, and it looks like a badass demon's castle for sure, but I could immediately tell this level would be a biatch. You get, even in that very first nook that you start in, the dragon worm skeletons flying, just getting out of that first nook was a bitch. you gotta go up that ladder, and those fucking things are flying around everywhere immediately. So yeah, it was pretty fucking tough. And you come out of that, you get up onto that platform and drop down, and you start this sequence of 4 red devils right in a row. And
so annoying.
I died probably a dozen times the first time I got here, and I was it was one of those things. It was like, I need to just take a break. This is going really poorly. I'm getting upset. I just need to take a fucking break. I need to cool off because it was those things are so fucking difficult that it was really because it's one thing you battle this is hard, but these things if I'm lucky to kill the first one, I'm definitely losing my armor while I do it. And I'm not even you maybe the 1 or 2 times I killed the second one, and you see the third one, you're like, fuck! You gotta be kidding me! And there's another one after that. I tried to just write, I'm sure, I know I did it a bunch of times, or a couple of times, but I'm sure it was probably in that first instance I did at least once, where you just try to run through it and see if you can just fucking outrun them, and you see the fourth one, you're like, you gotta be fucking kidding me! 4 of these things in a row. Yeah, no, yeah. Rough.
And this is one instance where the axe's trajectory kind of helps, and I was able to kind of take.
What is the trajectory? Is it not straightforward? Is it
no? It goes I don't know, a 30-degree angle, 20-degree angle,
okay.
Kind of up a bit. So
that would be helpful because those fuckers read and react to your projectiles really, really well. So
yeah. So when I had the axe, I was kind of like, oh, fuck you guys, yeah, let's go.
Damn it, man. Oh, that's frustrating to hear because this took a lot of fucking work. Yeah, I came back. I died probably another 20-something times the second time I played it. Before, I had forgotten that I could shoot straight up in the air, which made them way fucking easier. Particularly coupled with the getting that magical attack from the dagger. So you have 2 of your sprites doing that. Made it so much fucking easier, But yeah,
I can only imagine what that would be like.
Rough, Jay.
I'm about to play it again with daggers and see how that goes.
The adjective is rough. So you pass that, hopefully, maybe someday, and there's a short ladder climbing sequence populated by the dragonflies and the pitchfork pig vomit fuckers that you like, and then a single huge ladder with a timing puzzle imposed by eyeball tentacles popping out at the ladder from both sides. Really cool looking things, sprites, whatever. And that leads up to a new boss, or maybe mini boss, more aptly it could be called. And it's a huge dude that he walks out of this doorway, and he's got a red cloak with Legion of Doom shoulder pads.
What a rush!
And a really cool two-face design that I just suggest looking up on the interwebs. It's cool to look at. And he shoots a big flame in front of him that you can easily avoid by jumping over to the ladder platform. So that's kind of a little bit of like every boss this works a little bit on. Just run away, and then I
just stayed on top of the ladder platform. Like, let me just peek enough and scream at you, and I'm just going to stay here.
Not a dumb choice for sure. Yeah, and it shouldn't have been a surprise to me, because we're talking fucking Capcom here, and they love them. But you are then inserted into a quasi-boss rush. And the sequence where you have to deal with the heads from the Statue of the Terror boss in stage 1. Just the heads, like not the whole thing. They're like attached heads that kind of, a little Beetlejuicy, little Beetlejuice wormy kind of look to them, without the rest of the sprite being there. And then there's a trifecta of the Mistral Wind boss in the mountains, as well as a couple more of those mini boss Peckerwoods they have to deal with, 2 of them at once. And it was, you think you're in a boss rush here, and you're like, motherfucker, man, boss rush. And then like it's a little bit of a, it's not a straight boss rush, and that you don't have to deal with them all. Like it's just like, I don't know. It was unexpected, I guess. Like you think you're getting into one thing, and then something else happens. You get the 2 of the mini boss. I appreciated that it wasn't what I expected.
Yeah, it was just like a little bit of like, oh, what's happening next?
Right.
Like, like even those 2 of those, I don't know, like where the wild things are. Bosses. That's
a great comp. Yeah, that's a great comp.
Luckily, even though they killed me multiple times, when I had the axe, this is another example where the trajectory is just right, where I could just turn, fire, kill one, turn, fire, and then I didn't have to jump or anything.
With those dudes, the second appearance of them, when you could, they take so few hits that you could just run in and literally kill the second one, because there's 2 of them doing that thing.
Yeah.
So you could just run in and kill that one on the right before he can even get going, and then you're far enough away from the other one that you can just turn back around and finish it off, and then move on to the thing. So yeah.
When I didn't know it was going to happen, and they just cornered me, at first it was like, oh damn, what's going to happen? But then you realize like, oh, I can just come and control this fight.
Yeah.
With timing. Yeah.
For sure. But again, you're not going to know that the first time you're in there. So you survive all that shit, and then you get to the boss battle, and it is Beelzebub. And Beelzebub, in this case, can't think of any other time in lore where this is the case, or this is the representation rather of Beelzebub. But it's just a huge flying insect that my dagger power double and I fucking vaped. Just like run up on top of him, and just again, kind of before he can really even get going, I was able to take this thing out. But the mechanic is if you allow him to live, he kind of like what is that? It made me think of Candyman. He just turns into the bees,
Yeah.
Like a swarm of bees. He's usually able to go from the big overall sprite that shoots whatever those projectiles are at you, to he would able to just like kind of explode into a swarm of bees that was invulnerable while I was in that state, and move to another part of the screen, and then reform into the total thing. So, but yeah, I would basically, I think maybe that would still happen once, but I was able to take his ass down pretty quickly. You have a little more trouble.
So many times.
Really?
So many times. Again, I didn't know magic was a thing at this point. And the first time I got here, I had a sword, and so I was just kind of jumping, trying to swing at him.
That's crazy. That's great,
dude. It was just all kind of bad. And
it's funny because I feel that way about the sword for the entire game, but I think it was Scott on the Facebook page was like, fucking like, don't use the sword there.
Dude, so it was a big...
which implies that he likes to use the sword enough for that need to be said, which is its own question that I kind of want to know more about.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, if you played like I played, then you'd pick it up whenever and just like, oh, I'll just roll with what I'm getting this time. But yeah, this was freaking hard, man. It took me a while to beat this. I felt so accomplished when I beat it. I thought it was the end. I thought it was the end.
I did too. So let's talk about that.
Yes.
That's a big conversation. So this first time, you're playing the game for the first time as we are, and you don't have any pre-existing knowledge. I'm not out here fucking watching videos. I don't know what's coming. So, you kill this thing, you get another key, you go through another door, and it cuts to a black card with a god-looking figure on the right-hand side, some pretty good-looking sprite art, and your sprite in normal armor down below, even though I was rocking the gold armor, and I was sure to save scum my ass off if that changed at any point in the latter half of this game.
At this point, I had silver. I wasn't.
Oh, man.
Gold was kind of like whatever. Yeah, I lost it, so I only had.
I considered that dying. If I lost it, I'm just low.
I wasn't there quite yet. I'll get there.
Okay. So yeah, those two art pieces are there, and then text begins to appear above as a theme titled "Arthur Must Return" fires up. And the text reads, "Arthur, you've done well so far, but you will not be able to defeat Loki, who's behind the door. Go back to the village and get the magic power from the goddess of battle." Or rather, actually, they write goddess of battle, GOODSSS. And I think they mean goddess. So it cuts to another black card after that, and this one is with a blue-haired princess, and now I had my magic armor on. So, like, your sprite changes, for this next card, and that's interesting, I think. And there's some more text that appears. It reads, "Arthur, put on your magic armor and open the magic box. I'm sure that the goddess will appear." And this time they read it correctly. "Good luck, Arthur. I believe that you will defeat Loki." And I was sitting there like, what in the fuck are they talking about?
Yeah.
I had the magic armor on when I beat Beelzebub. So what the fuck do you mean? What the fuck are you talking about? And then it drops you into the start of the game again. And, because here's the thing. I'm working from the knowledge of playing the first game. So this is the thing in the first game. That happens. In the first game, you beat the final boss, the king, and then it does this. So, like, this happening is not, like, inconceivable to me.
Okay.
I'm prepared for that. I'm still a little like, fuck. But I'm prepared for it to be possible. But do they think that I'll play the game again to even see the final boss? They're not even going to let me see it. They're not even going to let me do the battle. They're not even going to let me see the sprite of the end of the game. Are you fucking out of your mind? Are you out of your fucking mind?
Dude,
Are you out of your fucking mind? Yeah, man. I thought it was fucking with me. I played all the way through the first boss, and it was funny to me how, like, immensely better I was at the game of the first level,
Mm-hmm.
Having played through the whole game. Like, I could visibly tell the skill difference and the experience difference. Like, I pretty much coasted through the first stage. But yeah, I played all the way through that first stage thinking something must be different about this. There has to be something different, and it's not going to make me go all the way through. There is some, I can't think of what the fuck it is. There is a game that's done that before, where, like, you think you're replaying the game, but it's a little, you don't have to do it all the way, and it's just like something turns out to be different, So, like, that would have been cool and fine with me, but that's not it. There's nothing different. It's the same fucking game. I don't even know if it's harder. I think it's just the same game again. And there's no fucking way. I'm just not doing that. I'm not doing it. There's not fucking doing it. Not doing it. Did you fucking do it, Jay?
Dude, I did, and I was... So this is what happened to me. This happened, and I was sitting there like, what the fuck? This is also, like I said, I had just started noticing the word practice, like in level 4. So all of this combined, I'm just like, what the fuck? Is it because I lost gold and I only had the silver? I was like, what? Like, and then, so I was sitting here, I was like, did I play with the wrong fucking mode? Because I was at this point like, I'm not doing this again.
That's where, that is definitively worse. To think that you did it to yourself had to be worse.
I was prepared to be like, Josh, I'm not playing it again. Like,
I eliminated that variable. I eliminated that variable, thankfully.
Dude. So I'm sitting here freaking out and like, what the fuck, man? And so at this point, this is when I'm really looking up, like, what do I need to do? and like something was just like, yeah, on level 4 again, this chest you'll get this weapon, like use that weapon. So I was like, and that's when I also would hear things like, oh yeah, a common thing to play through, have to play through the game again. And so I was just like, okay, I'm glad I didn't do the wrong thing first of all, but still like, what the fuck, man, I got to do this again, like, oh. But then it felt like there was more stuff to fight. But it was also easier for me because I went through it and I was able to kind of just, all right, I'm flying through. I'm just grabbing stuff. And this is when I was like, I'm holding on to the gold armor no matter what. But also at the same time, because I looked something up, I saw somebody like do a special move. And I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, what? Where did this magical power come from? Like, how did
you hadn't used the armor a single time. Oh my god.
So I'm sitting, it was literally, I played through the entire first game.
If I didn't discovered that, I might have kept playing. If that would have been when I discovered it and I was like, that had that door open for me there, I might have kept playing because it would have been so like, oh my god.
Keep playing? You did not?
No, dude, I fucking turned this shit. No. I pulled up a play vid and it made me really sad inside to do it, dude. It made me really sad, but I was like, I'm not fucking, no way, dude. It was too hard and too much time. No way, dude. I was doing it again.
I felt the same way, and I was so angry. That's when I was kind of like, but I think the notion that there was this magical power element that I didn't even play. I had all these headaches, and I was like, well, so like the second playthrough, even though it kind of seemed like there was more stuff going on, that's when I would like just roll with the magic like firewater and just like eliminate everything on the screen just constantly. So I was able to just kind of like speed through and kind of like speed run, like, all right, I'm just going to murder stuff and keep going, save scum, keep going and get back there. But I felt how you felt except for like, okay, this could be better. All right. And I was starting to have fun and get it towards the end, but I absolutely had that moment of rage. Like, I'm not doing this again. That's such a
fortuitous stroke of seemingly despair, but actually luck to have that discovery happen there to power you through it. Because I did not have that motivation at all.
Wow, dude! Yeah. I cannot believe.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Wow. So I watched this fucking play vid, and it's just another full run through the game, and I was sitting there watching. I'm just like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, man. Dude, so I scrubbed through to the end. Towards the end anyways. And the only difference in the whole game, whatever, we have to look at math to know whether the fucking, maybe it is a little harder, I don't know, whatever. But either way, it's not a significant difference. It's just certainly not
more enemies, I feel like. More stuff is flying at me all of a sudden on the first stage.
That would certainly make sense. I would assume that it's a little different, but it didn't, what I did play did not necessarily feel like it to me. So I wasn't whatever, it doesn't matter. In any event, the only real difference is the third treasure chest. Not any other. No, it's not like random seed. It's not like the third one in stage 5, which appears right around the last of the 4 red devils. Which there's just so many layers to this. I beat those 4 red devils. You think I'm gonna do something I know is probably stupid? Like. That's what that means is like, now I survived that. Now I'm going to just rain hell down on myself with a fucking magician. No, I'm not doing that, you fucking assholes. Go fuck yourself. That's not happening. So that's a real fucked up part of this aspect. But you open that and you get this weapon called the Psycho Cannon from that one chest. And it's like a I think it's the princess maybe or something similar looking
from the cutscene. She's the one that kind of shows up right there.
Shows up there and gives you the psycho weapon. And by the way, that's a wild ass name for a weapon in the story world, the Psycho Cannon. So interesting choice. But with it and only with it can you gain access to the Loki battle at the end of the first level. And it doesn't even have it. I mean, you don't have to have the magic armor. So it's just flatly lying to you in that in-game copy because you don't need the armor. It's good to have it so you can use the magical power of the psycho fucking thing for sure, but you don't have to.
But the psycho thing doesn't give you a magical power. You just use it.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
It does something. I don't know if I remember what it is. Hold on. No. Did I even write down what it was?
For me? Okay, let me just tell you. This was my experience. If there's some special way to use it that I could not figure out, that's on me. But my playthrough experience,
it definitely has a power. I can't think of what it is.
No.
But
My playthrough experience was I learned that you could use these magical things. So the whole second playthrough, I'm like, whatever I'm having, I'm like using these magical powers, which is why I never had the dagger, because at this point I ended up only with like the fire water and like the axes or something, just because I was being very much more efficient, good at the game at this point, and I just never was dying. So I'm using those powers, and it's freaking great. And once I finally get this new power, I'm like, sweet, I got the princess fairy showed up. Everything's different. I know I finally like made it to the thing I was supposed to do.
Did you see in the video? So you saw in the video that you knew you had to open that chest.
I knew, yeah, eventually that there was a chest there. I was like, okay, that's.
Well, I'm saying, did you know that chest though? Did you know it was that chest?
No, I just knew it was a chest, so I was just going through like
opening.
I didn't know it was that specific one until I ran into it.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't like look at that detail of the video.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, dude. Like, yeah, I never, like going back to like having like I hated those chests. I never in a million years would have been checking every chest. And you absolutely, if you don't open that chest, it'll send you back again. It'll make you do it again.
But I ignored. I knew what chest to avoid. Like so stuff chests that I knew had magicians. Because remember, on my first playthrough, I was hitting those chests expecting to fight magicians or get a power up. So I knew which ones were going to just screw you over, and I still avoided the screw you over ones because they weren't different. They were still the same. So I still just instinctively just kind of got there.
Well, what was in that? Okay. Well, what was in that chest the first time?
I don't know. It's just a weapon. One of the weapons before. I couldn't tell you which weapon, but a weapon.
So a positive then, I guess, man. Remember, that's fucked up. I don't know, man. That sucks.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I can just tell you when I got it, we have the screen change. The Princess Fairy shows up. Awesome. You give me the weapon. I'm super pumped because I'm like, let's see what this magic is. Because I waited all this time, made sure I kept my gold. It doesn't charge up. There was no charge up mechanism. It was just having this weapon available and just shooting it. So I was like,
I swore they mentioned something in the thing.
Not for me, man. I mean, I'll watch a video and like fast forward it. I'll fast forward this playthrough video I have. But for me, I was just kind of like, that's a really weird usage to like give you this magical armor where you're powered up. But when I get the special power, I'm not able to charge it up in that manner anymore. Like it just is naturally OP to use,
Yeah, it is lit. I mean, yeah, I guess it's worth talking about. Yeah, you get it and it's like this. It's just, the animation is so cool. It's so cool looking. It kind of looks like it has that teal look to it that's really fucking cool. Yeah. And yeah, it's just, and like it's hit animation is really fucking awesome.
It one-shots the freaking Red Devils.
I guess this guy, I mean, he has the meter there, but he's definitely not doing anything.
It doesn't, because it doesn't do anything. You have a meter. It just doesn't, you're like, hey, what's going on here? Nothing. You're just going to use it.
Yeah, wow.
So that was a little bit of a letdown. I was kind of like, what?
Well, like I said, Jay, I didn't play, so I don't know. It had no effect on my life. I didn't retain that information. Yeah, man. And dude, I mean, I'm pretty sure that it will send you back again to the beginning. Can you imagine? Can you imagine playing through the whole game again? And you don't know that. And you, like I said, you don't know.
That can't happen. There's got to be a...
No, I didn't think it does, dude. I'm pretty sure I read that it does. I think I read that on the fucking Reddit or something. Yeah, dude.
I would turn the game off and never play again.
Yeah, right.
Like
right.
If there's no way I could save state.
Or maybe move to Florida and start killing people. Maybe that's what I would do. Because, holy fuck. Yeah, I mean...
No chance, man.
It's insane. It's insane because it's not explicit enough. It's not, like I said, it's lying to you about what you have to do with the magic armor. It has nothing to do with the armor, So it's just, it's not nearly explicit enough.
I thought you had to have the magic armor to be able to wield this weapon. That's how I don't know if you...
That's what I would have assumed too, but like I said, no, you do not.
Really?
You do not, yeah.
You can see people
you don't have to have that. I'm pretty sure, unless I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure that you don't, though.
Because I interpreted it that way. Like, all right, I got to have the gold armor too, especially when I figured out that you can't power it up. So I was like, all right, so I just had to have the gold armor to be able to even like wield this. Fine, good enough.
That makes a lot of sense and would make me feel better about this whole thing. But I don't know if it does. Yeah, just so really, that's hardcore, man. That's hardcore game design. That is really hardcore. Yeah. Anyhow, if you can figure it the fuck out and emotionally weather the road, the long, weary road to it, Loki looks fucking awesome. Like, huge red demon sitting in a throne. He has his own theme, obviously. He shoots beams from his talon-adorned fingers. He fires arrows directly out of his mouth downward at you. And then, if you like stand right there where you want to be to hit his ass. And then also cluttering up that space you want to be in to actually attack him. He stomps with his huge-ass feet in the general area that you're in there. So, you know, I mean, I didn't play it, so I'm just watching the video. It didn't look that bad, you know, the battle, but I'm sure it had to have some layer of difficulty to it. You guys, you did it, right? So.
Yeah, of course I did, dude.
Okay.
Come on, Josh. I finished things. As much as it sucked. But surprisingly, it wasn't that bad. It only took me a couple of tries, and that's just because, like, if you kind of, there's almost like a sweet spot because you want to kind of shoot up and hit him in the face, like in his chin.
I would get I'm looking at a video. I would guess just like a C hair off dead center is like the optimal place to be.
Right.
And that's where the thing, crossing things are going to get you.
Right.
And
so you're there, but at the same time, there's like a crack that opens up beneath. So like if you're not paying attention, you just fall in. So you have to end up being jumping over his legs.
I didn't even notice that.
In the battle. So you end up jumping over his knees, and you can easily get messed up. But like at one point in my battle, like as long as you just stay alive a little longer and keep shooting at him, you can win. Like I ended up getting hit and losing my armor, and just instinctively being like, guess it's time to restart. And I was about to just like save scum and go back. Like I still had the weapon, but I just kind of like I stopped myself and just like stayed in it, engaged, and finished it that time. So I was like, I finished it with with my armor off, but still had the weapon.
It's like my Final Fantasy Chaos battle. Like, I'm not going to survive this, but I'm going to ride it anyways.
I get hit. I was like, I'm done. Like, well, let me just finish it out. Like, look at that.
Yeah, holy shit, yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. Once you just kind of stayed alive a little longer and keep shooting up, it's not bad. It's like it's almost like it rewards you a bit for like you did all of this to get here. We're not going to make this.
It's funny you say that because the final boss in the first one was the same deal. The final boss in the first one was easy as fuck. You know, granted, I didn't play it the second time. Maybe it's a little harder the second time, but I honestly, I can't. I doubt it is. It was pretty like the mechanic isn't going to change. I don't think so. Yeah. It was so simple, like really, literally nothing. You just stand there at the edge of the screen and just fucking hammer it, and it died before it could get to you. You know, so yeah, it was very anticlimactic, and that was probably my biggest bitch. Well, I had other bigger bitches, but it was one of my major bitches. About the game. The first one was that the ease of the first, but it was so rewarding visually that even if it was a little easier, I didn't get that vibe from watching the battle.
No, it definitely felt rewarding afterwards. Like I said, I was like, oh damn, I'm gonna die. But I was like, like being able to get into the room with the right weapon and armor this time. When I first walked in, I was like, I'm here. Like this is finally the boss. So it's like I finally freaking did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So beating it was like, yes,
super rewarding. Yeah. I bet. I didn't get that feeling. But so yeah, you kill him or you killed him. I didn't kill him. But his sprite gets covered with explosion animations and then combusts into a bunch of escaping souls that he had captured of all the people in the kingdom. Really cool. And then it fades to Sir Arthur standing in a void. A bird carries Princess Prin overhead and down onto the ground next to him, and she lies there dead until her soul flies back into her body. She then stands. They haul ass at each other and embrace. Smooches ensue. Then congratulation, yes, singular, appears overhead as the hearts from said smooching pass and fly up through the word, which is kind of cool. And then whole bunch of copy. Loki, Loki restored the Ghouls and Ghosts world, which had vanished 3 years ago. Arthur has finally defeated Loki, warrior the strongest in the world. Arthur had known at the time when he defeated the demon that the Ghouls and Ghosts world might, and that's M-I-G-T-H, and they of course mean might, M-I-G-H-T, be restored someday. He prepared for the new enemy by improving weapons and giving magic power to each weapon. And this is like their, I read it the first time and I was like, I'm trying to parse this,
what?
Yeah, it's talking about he prepared these new skills in the interim period before this new challenge was presented to him. I think that's cool. That that I don't know. It gives him. It gives that hero, this character, you want your protagonist to be active. You want your protagonist to not have success happen to him. You want him to take the bull by the horns and prepare himself and do the work and get there by way of, good old fashioned blah blah blah. So it does a good job of giving you that in the story here, I think. So if it had not been for the magic power, even Arthur could have been defeated long before he reached Loki. On top of the magic power, Arthur obtained the Psycho-Cannon, form, not from, Valkyrie, and then after a dreadful battle, he finally defeated Loki. And I don't know who that is. Who the fuck is Valkyrie? I don't know what they're talking about there. And people's souls, which had been captured in Loki's body, were released, and the Princess of Hus, H-U-S, which is where we haven't seen yet, but I'm guessing it's the kingdom, was revived. The Earth has been restored to its peaceful self, thanks to Knight Arthur. However, there is no reason the Ghouls and Ghosts world will not be restored by someone someday. Is Arthur's battle truly over? And that doesn't make any sense. What do you mean?
Like what?
There's no indication that things aren't better now. I guess it's suggesting that things don't seem better or things aren't better, but that's exactly why they're smooshing, right? Things are better. I don't know. Doesn't exactly add up to me. But you go from that to you are then paraded through a very bizarre sequence of short clips of Arthur beginning each stage, then clips of the beginning of each boss battle. Then it cuts to Prin Prin alone in a castle courtyard, running towards nothing in particular. Then back to Arthur in stage 1 doing his lightning magical attack. Then it cuts to a really badass full-screen sprite art image of Prin Prin in Arthur's arms, with both of them looking out into the night sky at a really evil entity of some kind looming down. And the words, "The End," ... fades in as the tune fades out. Then we cut to the regular game over screen of the words appearing in balls of flame that look pretty awesome. I guess maybe we should have mentioned we were talking about dying earlier. But that whole sequence doesn't make any sense. I don't understand what's happening there. I don't get it.
Dude, I almost turned the game off at this point because I was like, all right, I guess that's the end. Before I even got to the end part, just because of the sequence. It was only because I was writing some notes down and the kids were talking to me or something that I looked up and I was like, oh, there's more stuff happening now. Because just the end sequence,
Yeah, it's fucking weird. It's that end slide, that end picture with that thing being in the sky, backs up that suggestion that things aren't better, but it doesn't. I don't know what it means. I just don't know. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what to do with that information.
They allude to making a sequel. Did they already decide they were going to make another game?
Which is fine and even expected, but you still need to
it's
have
weird. You just said everything's restored, but there's no reason to think things are restored.
Right, exactly right. That's what I mean. There yes, you can still have the looming possibility that the evil could return. You haven't done everything you need to do. The quest continues, but there needs to be some level of reprieve. There needs to be some level of I can take a breath now. That's why we stopped playing, right? Otherwise, let's keep going. Let's get it done. I'm here. I put all this work in already. Let's keep going. I'm not doing that, but you could have done that. You know what I mean? So yeah, a little just a little weird of an end. I think it's all cool. The art's cool, and I don't know, yeah, it's cool, but. Yeah, that in sprite art image is beautiful, but it kind of reminds me, the thing in the sky looks a little like the art in Ninja Gaiden, that evil
Right? It
boss.
looks super evil.
Yeah. Kind of just like that purple, whatever thing, like the face with the shit spreading out from the inside of it. Anyhow, that is fucking ghouls and I can never get it right. Ghouls and ghosts, goblins, ghosts, guy, a whole bunch of shit, some evil
ghosts,
things.
Ghouls, and goblins.
Yeah,
What are that combination?
Something with an apostrophe in. Some things with an apostrophe in for sure.
Crystal Forest theme from level 4, bringing us into the verdict. What do we think here?
Man, the play the whole fucking thing again shit is cold. It's really cold.
So brutal.
Yeah, and the frigidness of it is exacerbated immensely by not even letting you fight the final boss. You see that amazing sprite until you do it, and yeah, at least in the original, they let you, like, you know, it's a lot of time and effort and a lot of fucking difficulty to just give you nothing at the end of it. It's tough, man. That's a really tough decision. And as much as I hate that, it's no accident. It's a design decision. Like I said, it's very close anyways to the exact same thing. Making you play the game twice, 2 installments now. It's part of the game franchise. And just because I tell someone to go fuck themselves, and I absolutely am telling Capcom to go fuck themselves, it does not mean they have to listen to me. They can stand their ground and say, no, you go fuck yourself. This is the game we're making, and you deal with it, little gamer bitch. And that's admirable artistry, and I'm going to begrudgingly support it and commend them for it. And outside of that, man, this is a great game. And, I did not do the research of hearing that it was Game of the Year in so many venues or from so many reviewers and such, but it makes total fucking sense to me. The graphics and the music are absolutely awesome. Like, the sprite art is up there with the best on the Genesis. And I mean that moving forward. Like, what we're going to see over the next fucking... the Genesis hangs around to like 95 or something, 94, like 95.
96.
So another 5 years of development on this system, and I think it hangs in there. If it doesn't, it might be, period, the best we're going to see. Specifically in this genre, or not specifically, but especially in this genre. So that's wild. That it's one of the first games and it does that great of a job is incredible. I think there's so much originality and effort clearly going into every single enemy design. Like, there's just not a single one, actually, and I hadn't thought about it like that. Like, there's not a single enemy in the game where you go, that was just that's in a million other games. Every single sprite, every enemy, even things where, like, yes, there's, a fire bat. Like, I'm sure that's elsewhere. But, like, the sprite is unique, original, and the mechanics of it coming out of the fire columns, like, that's not just, they don't just appear. They have a reason for their creation. It's just like there's so much effort into every little component of it that's fucking great. And the control mechanics are not my favorite. That jump thing fucking sucks. But just as the play it twice shit, that is consistent with the first game. That's in there too. So, like, that's intended. They know it's there. They want it to be that way. They built a game around it. They imposed difficulties that exploit it. Like, it's all, what do you call that? Intelligent design, So it's I don't, as much as I might find it frustrating, that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means I can't do it, or whatever, I guess probably a lot of people can't do it, but still, it's intentional, and that is hard to criticize. And I think most of all, it just felt like such a video game. dude. Did it not? Like, something about the experience, because I had no prior exposure to it. Playing the game on my fucking laptop with granted original controller, but still not on a Sega Genesis, not on a CRT, in fucking Florida, like at age fucking 40, like it put me in front of a CRT at Christmas 92. It made me feel like I did when I was first being blown away by what this system was capable of projecting onto a fucking TV. Like, it gave me that feeling. And the idea that you could generate that kind of emotional response in the player 30 plus years after the game's release, like, you bet your sweet ass it gave King Lorik's blessing and mine too. Like, that is a really, really strong development job, you know?
Strong words indeed. Indeed. Yeah, I mean, I see your point. I get your point, 100%. I was resistant to even play this game. I mean, you know that. Even when I would see this character on Marvel vs. Capcom, a game, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, I enjoy playing it on the Xbox. Whenever I see Arthur in that game, I'm just like, why would I want to be this nerdy dude in a freaking old school knight costume with a freaking lance? Like, it looks corny. I don't want to play the game. I don't want to play the game he's from. So it was just kind of like heavily resistant. And yeah, surprisingly, did I have fun? I did have fun. Like I told you, like it definitely got to the point when I started the second run through, even though I was pissed, like I had gotten to the point where I felt good enough to where it was like, I don't want to get hit. Like, I'm going to keep my gold armor at all costs. And, you know, like I had strategies to beat things and I'm going to fly through this. And so like the second playthrough, as annoying as it was to have to go back through again, was far quicker, dude, far quicker. Because I was just, again, I was using the magic thing, but I was also like, I know what I'm doing now. I'm fucking smashing through things.
Yeah, I didn't mention, but I did that first stage. I watched the video and saw what had to happen. And I didn't mention it, but I did go back in. I played a little further. I can't remember where I stopped. Late stage 2, maybe I got to 3. I don't think so. I think it was late stage 2. So I played it a little more, and it was hard, and I died, and I was like, fuck this. And just, you know, got on with my life. But yeah, it I guess what I'm getting at there is the satisfaction of being better at it was very satisfying. Like I said, even that first stage, I could immediately tell it was better, and that felt good. And that is a strong thing, too, I think.
Yeah.
I digress. Sorry.
I mean, having that there, I mean, it was fascinating. I didn't think, because I was so angry, because it was definitely so much toughness, like so much save scumming, trying to get my sea legs underneath me, figuring out like how this game works, since there's so much trial and error, as we've talked about. Like, it's just, you don't know it until you go through it. They're like, yep, don't stand there again. That's what happens when you stand there. You think you can stand there, but you can't. You know, just so much of that. And even with that, like, I thought I would hate it, but I didn't hate it. I surprisingly had fun. I would recommend it to someone else, and if they had a remastered version, like, hey, let's remaster this with like some super sweet graphics, like now current generation, I would play it again. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I would play it again. So yes, blessing bestowed.
Dope. Yeah, I guess I didn't say that either, dude. I was absolutely sure you didn't go through a second time. I was. Yeah, I didn't think there was any chance in hell that you played this.
The whole game took me 2 days. Like I was playing.
I told you could chug if you want. Yeah.
And then like I was going through, and that kind of happened. I was like, oh fuck, whatever, you know. And I got to the point I kind of had to adult and do other things. But then like the next day, like yeah, I just got into a zone. Once you kind of get going with the controls, where you're just locked in. It's like, nope, I know what jump, keep going, like just lock in and focus. And I was like, wow, this okay. All right. Surprisingly.
Such a video game. A video game. Yeah. No, yeah, dude. Yeah. Yeah. Very strong. It's always, podcast is incredible in that regard, that it forces you into these situations. Because, yeah, I mean, you know, I have so much love for the Genesis, and I know that it's a blind spot, that pre-Sonic era. And, like, the fact that there's games in there that just, I could have fucking lived 30 years without knowing about is fucking just so crazy to me. And this is one of them.
Wow. Can't believe I played this game. Good game. Recommend it.
Yes. Fire it up. So next we will play, or we will read. We'll probably play some stuff too, but we will read GamePro 13. You can subscribe to the pod on the platform provided, whatever dumbass company that stirs up your pottery. Please rate and leave positive shit for the pod on the podcast platform of choice that you do engage them on, or any other for that matter. The website is nyehentertainment.com/ISOHpod. You can email us directly at isohpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the pod on Facebook and or Instagram. The link to the YouTube gameplay videos playlist is in the show notes. There's the ISOH subreddit if you want to get down on Reddit. And we don't have a Patreon, but if you'd like to give money to things podcasters tell you to and would like to do so at our direction, the Able Gamers Foundation creates custom gaming rigs for gamers with disabilities, and that is cool as fuck. AbleGamers.org is where you can find them. T-shirts are on the website. They're dope, and proceeds on those after pod expenses go to Able Gamers. Jay, what are your socials?
Gentleman JB without the second E is my gamer tag, and where you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and those places when I do post.
I am on Twitter at Josh Folan. There's some really hot Buffalo Bill shit going on there right now if you want to pop over to that. And I am on Instagram at MyShiftKeyIsBroke, and that is also what my Oculus gamer tag is if you want to get fucking annihilated in Labyrinth Walkabout Mini Golf like Jay is about to in a couple of hours. Okay, bye.